All right, and welcome. Let's do a sound check and make sure you're hearing me, and I'll welcome everyone into the show. Sounds like that's working out. So, God bless everybody. Welcome to your Monday, April 21st. I hope everyone had a happy Easter. I know I did, and it's just been a wonderful few days. I'm so glad to be here, and I want to say hi to everyone before we get on into the show. Special thank you to Heather Brown for sharing this. Reminder to like, share, and subscribe if you would please do so. Um, Also, I'd like to thank Amy for always being here, modding, and sharing all the support pathways and the friendly reminders, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so shout out to Heather and Amy. And also, let me welcome in Four Pits uh, and Sweet Dude Chibi, Lisa, Diana, Mino Dino. We got David Rogers. Can't think of one. Noe Amos. We got Court of Public Opinion. Also Fur Baby Daddy. We got Icy Cat. Welcome, Icy Cat. Also Deb. All right. Glad to see everyone here. I see Tracy Fleetwood. Hey, Tracy. Okay. Also, we got Christy C, Crazy Girl 1203, Rhonda Holton, Kay Miri. Let's see who else do we have. We got Dawn Steele. Welcome in, Dawn. Welcome in, Pam Sheehan. Also Heather Brown. Well, I said hi, Heather. Forgive me. All right. Chester 22, Rebecca Ann 1965, Just Me. We got Kay. All right. Glad to see everybody here. Truly. Jan Humphrey, welcome. All right. I never want to miss anybody, so it takes me a minute to look through here. What's up, Jaylen? Jaylen's here. All right. We got Oleg Cat, KK Special, Nicole Watt, Right. It's a new day. What's up? It's a new day. We got Sunflower Soul. What's up? It's Sunflower Soul. We got Goose's Gammy. Right. Tammy Martin. Hey, Tammy Martin. All right. And we have, oh man, so many people. Easy E205. Nice name. All right. We got Mandy Gilliand. What's up, Mandy? Jaded Empath. Hey, what's up, Jaded Empath? Tiffany Renee Rocks. All right. Untamable. What's up, Untamable? What's up, Gilletta? All right. What's up, Kate U? Oh, Asha Harry. What's up, Asha? Deborah. Hello. Okay. Indiana Nan. Good to see you. And hmm, working on these glasses. I tell you what, they're a little different prescription, so I'm still. It's never perfect, is it? What's up, artist formerly known? Also, Deborah. Okay. Jake Brooks. Hello to you. Okay, Michelle. Welcome to you. Good to see you. Okay, Lady Shadowfly. First time seeing you here, and your first time here. Welcome in, Shadowfly. Glad to have you. Laura Naran, welcome in. Glad to have you. All right, damn. Well, it's good to see everybody. So hopefully I caught most of you, and anyone who's coming on in, just come on in, okay? Welcome into the Lurker crew. You don't have to come in, but I do appreciate when you come in. Hey, Mark Ellis with the Happy Easter. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Ellis. Okay, keep doing a good job in the chat. Thank you very much. That's a really amazing super chat. And I thank you for coming in here all the time, participating. And maybe you should come on the show again. Smoke signals for Adrian. Yeah, where's Adrian? Come on, Adrian. All right. What we got? It's a new day. Mark Ellis, you're amazing. Says Goose's Gammy. $100 holler. All right. So you guys, so I have a special treat for you tonight. All right. Um, sorry. All right. Thank you very much, Mark. All right. All right. Christy C. Nancy Drew 101. Hey, Profi Poo. Hey, Nancy Drew. All right, y'all. Sorry. Jeez, man. This is just, there's too much to do. Okay, there's too much to do. Let me see if I can get myself back in order. Let's see. Uh, all right. Okay. I'm coming. Sorry for the delay. All right, y'all. So thanks to everyone coming in. Let me make sure we got anyone else in here. Who else we got in here? Hey, the smoke signals worked for Adrian. Did they? Let's see. Where is she? Hey, Adrian. Okay, Adrian. It's a new day. Mino Dino, Tracy Fleetwood, Hiawatha. Hey, Hiawatha coming in. Hey, Linda K. Johnson. 5 Green Acres coming in. You guys. All right. Now that's what I'm talking about. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Everyone getting in here. Oh, really, Jaded? Emerald Wonderland is you? I've been wondering who that was and now where were you were. Now I know who that was and where you were. So you never went anywhere. All right. What's up, Pertinent? All right. Hiawatha, Dom S. Hello to you, sir. Cheers. We got geez, you guys are so amazing. Okay. All right. So let me get back to business. Hey, Bonnie. Bonnie's here. Bonnie Kokenauer. Long timer. The gang is here. Yeah, I'm happy. So all the usual suspects. Yeah, all of the You guys are a woman hater supporter, a whatever else, dude. Welcome into the hate crew. All right, so you guys listen. Tonight I have a very special show for you. Um, Now, there's a gentleman named Sergio Denaro. Sergio is a seasoned deception detection expert with over 20 years of extensive experience in federal safety. He's a Fed, okay? His career has spanned key roles in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, where he served as a federal air marshal, human intelligence collector with the DoD. His academic credentials include a MBA with honors from the University of Michigan. He's also extensively trained in various specialized courses throughout the DoD and holds certifications including LSI Scientific Content Analysis Basic and Advanced courses, READ Basic and Advanced Interrogation courses, Army Interrogation course, DoD certified, Counterintelligence Special Agent course, DoD certified, and a Strategic Debriefing certification. Okay. This is Mr. Sergio Denaro. He has a YouTube channel called Truth is Revealed. And a couple days ago, he released the most incredible video you are going to see on the interrogation of Richard Allen. It's called False Confessions and Police Pressure, How Richard Allen Was Set Up. Okay. And so amazingly enough, I reached out to Mr. Denaro and I asked him if it would be okay if we did a viewing for my audience of his show. Okay. And so Sergio was gracious enough to give us the permission to do a viewing of his show with our crew over here. And I think it will be so educational for all of you. I will get to add my input, which I don't think will do any better than Mr. Denaro's, but at least we'll sort of get a 2-for-1 here with Sergio. And then all of you, I'm going to invite to go over and subscribe to his channel when we're done, because I'm not sure if all of you know his channel, but you certainly will after this. Trust me. You are going to go subscribe to his channel immediately upon watching this. So anyway, that's what we're into tonight. That's why I titled the show DELPHI, False Confessions and Police Pressure, How Richard Allen Was Set Up, Reaction. Okay. And so that's what's on the menu for tonight. So I hope you all are up for it. And anyhow, so you all make yourself comfortable. Okay, I'm going to make myself comfortable. Get some snacks, get something to refresh yourselves. I have some water. And anyway, hopefully after this, we will all have a much better understanding of this Richard Allen experience. Because I got to say, I did look, with the release of some of this footage, there's sort of been a swell of people putting their 2 cents in. And there were a couple body language experts that I thought were absolutely like ridiculous and humiliating. I was embarrassed for these so-called body language experts. But I think that this is an actual sort of fair, middle ground perspective that Sergio has. And so that's what we're going to embark upon. Hey, Niobe. Niobe's come in. Hey, Niobe came in. Hey, Dieter came in. What's up, Dieter? All right. Yeah, it's a big juicy steak with wine and ice cream for dessert. What's up, Joy Smith? I see more people are still coming in. Okay, come on in. Make yourself comfortable. Get ready for a show. This is a listening experience. So a lot of you guys, I would like to say, hey, especially if you're on the replay, you don't have to watch this. You can put in the earbuds, okay? Get the earbuds out, put them in. Perfectly fine with me. This will be a listening experience. Anyway, God bless you all for coming in. Thank you. Special shout out again to Mark Ellis for the super chat and the constant support. Any of those of you who are watching, please know you can support the channel in any way you'd like. I would so appreciate that. Um, and anyway, without further ado, let's bring on Sergio and let's get started. And I will not overtalk him too much. So let's make this happen. Okay. Let's see.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Truth Revealed. I'm Sergio Gennaro. Today I have a little bit different episode. It's weighty, and you may need a moment to decompress after watching this. First, we're going to talk about Richard Allen and the Delphi murders. The problem that this case brings up, it's one of those things that you may not realize this systemic problem in society, but once you become aware of it, it becomes something that is going to bother you deeply. There's a fundamental problem with interrogation in general. It's like looking back at the Dark Ages when doctors used to put leeches on people to try and suck the disease out of them. We knew that there were diseases, kind of like how we know that there are people that have information that we need to get. And we had people that we called doctors back then. And now we have people that we call interrogators. But those doctors didn't know anything about medicine in the way that we as a society right now don't know anything about interrogation. In order to understand where I'm coming from here, you have to understand a little bit about me. In every video, or if you look at my bio, there's a description of generally stuff that I've done.
Okay, yeah. So I'd like to start, and I'm going to be interjecting here a little. He does say that we have a systemic problem here that many don't know exists. And it especially has to do with interrogation methods, the results of those, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And really, we have a systemic problem in so many ways with law enforcement and the justice system. Okay? So anyhow, I'd like to make it known that I have spoken to several law enforcement professionals, LEOs, retired law enforcement, etc., since this conviction and since this information has been released, especially the interrogation where Jerry Holman loses his mind. Okay. And I got to say, it's kind of amazing because the universal conclusion by these legit, vetted, real world, retired LEOs is that everything Jerry Holman did was wrong. Okay. And you're going to see with Sergio here, he's going to be getting into that. Okay. So anyway, that's where we're starting. Okay. So we're getting off on a good foot. Okay. And that's where we are. And this guy, I believe that he's in a good position to be able to critique such things, especially if you paid attention to his bio, where he is absolutely familiar with the read technique. And anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's enough of me. Let's get back to the show.
I was a human intelligence collector, for whatever that means. Well, I want to tell you what that means. The reason why I'm going to talk about this now is I want you to be able to distinguish, to differentiate between my knowledge and experience and the knowledge and experience that you hear people talk about, especially on shorts or videos on the internet, behavioral psychology. That is a degree, obviously, but there's nothing about deception detection that is part of that degree. It has nothing to do with interrogation and deception detection. People that are interested in that subject tend to gravitate towards behavioral psychology because you would think that that's where you would learn that. But like everything else throughout the course of human history, to truly uncover knowledge and information and a depth of understanding of a topic, and that's when people are trying to weaponize it. I was a trained interrogator, but if we're being honest, the time that I spent in an interrogation booth was for a very different purpose. It was to pretend like I was interrogating so that I could flip a subject. I was convincing these guys to work for me. I would release them back to their cells or organizations, and they would report back to me what was going on there. I just used interrogation as a cover. I had to be really good at understanding how people work, what they're thinking, and how to manipulate that. I have to understand where they're being deceptive, where they're being truthful, because if I can differentiate that, then I can focus in on the areas that they're being truthful about so that I can mask myself to match their mask, to create a persona for myself that they can relate to. And that is how I became so good at what I do here. I have created an interrogation system called the empathy method because I've learned how to universally approach anybody. It doesn't matter how hard you are, how many people you've killed. It doesn't matter what your core fundamental beliefs are. If I want to get inside their head and get out what's in there, I have to understand them. and I have to unlock that information. And you can't unlock that information through brute force. It's like a bank vault. The vault is made to withstand force. That's the purpose of it.
All right, let me talk about this. Do you understand what he just said? Did you? Because what he just said, let me tell you, many of you know that I was a teacher for many years. What he just said is a key to everything. If you cannot become sympathetic with the person you're interacting with, you will never be able to teach them. Okay? Same thing with what he's talking about in breaking people or interrogating. Brute force never works. You can't shove the information in the mind that is closed. Okay? And similarly, you can't extract guilt from someone who's guilty without coming down to their level. Got it? So God bless you all. Let him continue. Okay. I'm not going to belabor the point.
But if you have a key or a simple code, you can just walk in and take everything out of it. So that is a much more effective way of getting information than trying to be forceful about it. I put a little teaser out there that over the last couple of weeks, I've been dealing with something pretty profound in my personal life. The long story short is I found out that I am a high masking, late diagnosed autistic. I have some very common symptoms of autism that are not very noticeable to the outside person, but it really explains the reason why I've dedicated my entire life to figuring out how people think, how they work, how they mask themselves, because everybody masks themselves, not just me, and how to see through that. It's really the depth that I have gone into researching this phenomenon known as the human condition. And it really clarifies some other things, like my understanding on the topic of interrogation itself. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about interrogation. If we have this conversation first, it's going to give you a whole different perspective when we look at Richard Allen's interrogation. You know the phrase, when it rains, it pours, right? Everything comes in threes. There's different ways of saying that, but it seems like once something hits, more things just sort of pile onto it. And maybe it's just because you notice the second and third things because of the first thing. So yeah, I've been doing a deep dive into autism over the past couple weeks. And I also started talking to an influencer on Instagram. I follow a broad range of people, and I'm interested in creating a bit of a collective of influencers who collaborate in a certain area. Let me play it for you right here.
Imagine a future where technology can perfectly read your thoughts. No implants, no devices, just pure mind scanning, which honestly does not seem impossible given where our current technology is at. A new company develops a system that can predict who will commit a violent crime before they act, just by analyzing their thoughts and ideologies. The results? If we imprison those flagged as future criminals, violent crimes drop by nearly 100%. So here's the question. What level of accuracy would you need before accepting this as a fair system? So, wrapping it all up, would zero violent crime, essentially a totally peaceful utopia, be worth the potential consequences, like innocent people going to jail, the government having this level of power, or the violation of constitutional rights? Let me know what you think.
It's basically the ethical and philosophical questions behind the movie Minority Report, right? If you had the ability to predetermine if somebody was going to commit a crime or commit an act of violence, is it ethical to arrest them or stop them right before they do it? And they haven't actually done anything wrong. Well, that got me thinking about interrogation itself, and the interrogation in the Richard Allen case it's bad, but bad doesn't explain.
Okay, just for everyone, while we're here, before we even get deeply into it, again, he's at Truth Revealed, which is at the Empathy Method. Okay, Empathy Method. It's also called Truth Revealed at Empathy Method. Okay, that's his channel.
What's wrong with it? And so I want to make that the central theme of this video. So we are going to look at how little we actually understand about what interrogation is and how subjective it is in our society. At the end of this, I want you to understand that interrogation should not be subjective. There's ways to talk to people and to get information from people. And those ways are not different from person to person. Every single person on earth is very similar. This idea that everyone's completely unique is a huge fallacy. Everyone feels anger. Everyone wants to accumulate resources, gain wealth. Everybody wants to be able to relax at the end of the day. Most of what makes us people is pretty universal. So the way to talk to somebody and to get information from them can be very easily standardized, but it isn't right now. Every interrogation in every police department, everywhere in the world, is very different. And you might say, yeah, it is, but who cares? Big deal. Well, the big deal is that people are treated differently. So you might be walking down the street near somewhere where a crime happens, and based on the interrogator that you happen to get, it could be based on the color of your skin. It could be based on your gender. It could be based on none of those things. It could be based simply on how ineffectual the detective who's talking to you is. It could be that the person talking to you simply has low numbers and their job is on the line and they need to get a confession. And they have an end goal, and that goal is not justice. And so you are going to find, if you look under that rock, you're going to see systemic.
Sounds like Jerry Holman and Carroll County and the election coming up, and we need to maintain control of this investigation. Sound familiar? Sounding familiar?
Problems. And I'm not just talking about those classifications that fall under EEO. I'm talking about really bad interrogators who don't understand what they're doing. They have no idea. They're putting leeches on you and just hoping that information gets sucked out. And it creates a fundamental disparity between how people are treated by law enforcement, or when a person is going through law enforcement's process of investigation. Whether you're a witness or a suspect, the way that you're treated can impact your life, especially if law enforcement decides that they need a certain outcome. So we're going to keep all of that in mind, and we're going to go through and look at Richard Allen's case, and you can learn about the DELPHI murders while simultaneously understanding there's a problem out there. Let's summarize this intro. My personality lends me to this very well. The part of my personality that has caused me to create masks for my whole life made me very effective at what I did for the Department of Defense. My ability to mask myself, to mirror the person that I was talking to. It all makes sense to me now. I've been thinking about this over the last 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, that's why I was so effective. And that's why I can't teach people how to do what I do, because I can tell you the information, but it just doesn't register the same way that it does with somebody like me. Because of who I am, because of the way that I chose to live my life, and because of where I am right now, I have the ability to show you some systemic problems in the world that I'm going to do right now. So let's take a look at this statement that is, well, I call it a statement, but what it is it's the second interrogation of Richard Allen. First off, let me back up a little bit. The only thing I know about this case up to this point is what I've seen of the first few minutes of the first interrogation, the entire second interrogation, and then right after I finished analyzing the second interrogation, I saw a title when I was looking up the interrogations on YouTube that said his confession. And so I looked at his confession. That's all I know. I didn't watch the trial. I had never heard of Richard Allen until 2 days ago when you guys left comments, because I put out that post asking for suggestions.
Are you hearing this? Okay, because I want the whole troll farm to hear that very clearly. Right? This gentleman had not even heard of Richard Allen or the Delphi murders 2 days before this video, which was 2 days ago. So a week ago, he had no clue. Okay, got it? Put that in your notebooks and hit the check mark. Okay.
I like to go into statements blind, knowing absolutely nothing about evidence and the facts and all of that stuff. It seems counterintuitive unless you understand my process, but the police can manipulate evidence. It happens far more often than you'd think. If I am getting information directly from the source, right from Richard Allen himself here, there's no possibility that my view is going to be skewed by evidence that's been presented. The evidence is completely irrelevant because the person who's sitting in that seat knows whether they did this or not. We, as a society, have learned to emphasize the evidence too heavily. Well, look at it from my perspective. I don't worry about if somebody's lying. I can see right through that. So I would prefer to get the information directly from the source, because if evidence has been manipulated, I can't see that. I don't know if the evidence presented is real or not. There are cases where the evidence is tampered with. And if that's the case, and I accept it for what it is, it puts me on the wrong track. And I can avoid that by getting the information directly from the source, which is what we're going to do. The only thing you need to know going into this is that in order to get him to the police station, they called him and said, come down and pick up your car, your knife, the stuff that they had taken from his house.
Baited him, tracked
next
him.
thing that he knows is they call him and say, yeah, you can come pick up your stuff. So he goes down to the police station, not expecting to be questioned. In the very beginning of this, he's very relaxed. You have to know what is going on in his head in order to understand his body language and his verbiage. Because if somebody knew that they were being questioned, they wouldn't be this relaxed. He's just a guy who didn't understand where he was. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a great way to bring this subject in. Like I've sort of alluded to up to this point, putting a subject under stress, either accusing them or yelling at them or tearing them down, those techniques are meant to be used like a scalpel, not like a hammer. At a particular time, you want to see a reaction to a specific question. You can be very friendly and all of a sudden ask a question that your friend would never ask you. And that shock creates a stressful situation. And then in the next question, you go back to being very friendly again. It doesn't work if you're always yelling at them or berating them or whatever. So it can be very beneficial to bring somebody in when they don't know what's going on because they're very trusting. If they shouldn't know what's going on, but they do know what's going on, it means they have knowledge of the incident. So there's a lot of good reasons to do that. I just want to let you know that that is the situation as we start this here. All right, I'm going to take this in chunks because normally I will pull out all of the relevant questions when there's a lot of deception in particular questions. We'll go through one question at a time, and I'll show you where all of the indicators of deception are and what that means. This interview is very different. So in order to understand what's going on, we have to go through a lot of questions very quickly and take them in chunks. The interrogator here is using the read technique, and I will point out how I know that as we go through this, because I don't know who this guy is. I recognize the read technique, and he is using it horrifyingly wrong. I know there's a lot of controversy over the read technique, and I have to emphasize, first off, I'm not paid by them. They don't sponsor me, anything like that. I simply
Did you catch that sentence? Did you catch that? He's using the read technique, but he's using it horrifyingly wrong. Horrifyingly wrong.
We went through the course almost 20 years ago, and that changed my life because I understood literally everything that they were saying from start to finish. And I understand how it's almost impossible for a neurotypical person to be able to understand what's in the read course. It's just not possible. You have to understand what masking is, for one. And you can't understand that if you're not neurodivergent. I get a lot of questions. Does my technique work against neurodivergent people because they talk differently? Yeah, it does. It works great against me. I can't lie. I can see my indicators all over the place when if somebody records me and I look at my statement, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it works fine against neurodivergence. The interesting part is that I think you have to be neurodivergent in order to be able to use this technique. So let's get started. Interviewer. They took a lot of swabs. They're taking swabs off of everything. So what they want to know is, have you ever loaned anything out that we've taken? Okay, keep in mind, these are the questions in the beginning. So he thinks he's there to get his stuff back, and he's just getting some information. And he says, not that I can think of. That is straightforward and direct, and I'll compare his body language as we go through this, but not that I can think of. There's nothing deceptive about that statement. It is short, direct. It answers the question immediately in the beginning of the statement. And in here, there's nothing to expand upon, and he doesn't expand upon anything. If he had expanded when there's not a reason to, you're usually getting into deception or over-explanation, which is sensitivity. There's no sensitivity here. So this is a thinly veiled threat. He says they took a lot of swabs. They're taking swabs off of everything. So what they want to know is, have you ever loaned anything out that's yours? Meaning, is there any reason why there would be DNA that belongs to somebody else on your knife, in your car? From the very moment, the very first, no, this isn't the first question, but this is maybe 10 questions in, because he talks in the beginning about, do you like guns and stuff like that? Do you go shooting? Whatever. He's trying to make small talk. And once you get hit with a question like this, most people would say, well, why are you asking me that? But he is still pretty oblivious. He says, not that I can think of. Interviewer.
I do want to talk to you about one of the tests that we got the results back. Oh, the other thing is, any of these knives or the gun, did you have that the day that you recall having that with you on the day of the 13th when you were out there on the bridge? You don't remember if you did or you didn't?
I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day.
Yeah, so I'll let the lab know that that's one of the big things. And then, like I said, some of the tests are already back. And he says, mm-hmm. You know, he's agreeing. Mm-hmm. Interviewer, I do want to talk.
Okay, sorry. I don't want to miss that because this guy's talking fast. He is kind of autistic, you know, so he's kind of blazing through these statements. Let's go back a little.
The bridge.
Okay, first of all, relaxed, shoulder to shoulder. What the hell? Looks like we got a fruit fly. Look, notice shoulder to shoulder, squared up, right? Squared up. Relaxed. Look at the hand in the lab. All the body language that the expert said that he's holding the ankle, that means he's nervous. He ain't nervous yet. All right, but it's this
You
next
don't
statement I
remember
wanted to catch.
if you did or you didn't?
I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says,
So I'll let the lab know that that's one of the big things. And then, like I said, some of the tests are already back. And he says, mm-hmm. You know, he's agreeing. Mm-hmm. Interviewer, I do want to talk to you about one of the tests.
all right, so see, that's Jerry Holman with no skills going in to try to lead him into this conversation. And that's now we're getting the ball rolling here.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to tell you that if a police officer says, I want to talk to you about one of the tests, it's the same thing as your spouse or your significant other saying, we need to talk. That you should ring as, oh, that's not good. And when a police officer says something like that, it should have the same reaction. At that point,
Red
the
flags.
only thing that you should say is, no, if there's something you want to talk about, I need to have a lawyer.
Oh my gosh, this dude here. Now here, look, ladies, put the nail polish down. Can I be mean just so that they can say I'm mean? Ladies, put the nail polish down. Old ladies, stop knitting. Gentlemen, focus. Look at the screen. Did you hear this guy? Let me back it up a second, because this guy's good. This is a Fed. Keep in mind. Look at a guy. It's a Fed. He's telling you. Let's listen to what the Fed's telling us. All right. Sorry. Let me grab the spot.
That's not good. And when a police officer says something like that, it should have the same reaction. At that point, the only thing that you should say is, no, if there's something you want to talk about, I need to have a lawyer.
Says the Fed.
That's it. If I ever find out that one of you guys who watches my channel got into a situation like this and didn't ask for a lawyer, I haven't taught you anything.
Me too. If any of you ever get into this situation and you say you didn't ask for a lawyer, I'm done with you.
So at this point, he should be starting to get nervous. And if he were guilty right here, he would be on the lookout for any of these tests or anything like that. Mention of any of these tests. The fact that he's oblivious at this point means he's either dumb as a brick. No matter how dumb you are, you're still going to know that you murdered 2 little girls. So literally from this point right here, from these initial nonchalant responses, I'm like, he doesn't even understand what's going on yet. So this is a problem that the interrogator should be noticing literally this early in the interrogation. Interviewer, any of these knives or the gun, did you have that the day that you recall having that with you on the day of the 13th when you were out there on the bridge? Now, this interrogator is so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a good point he's making. Look at this language. This is the most scrambled, jambled, jumble, bumble sentence I've ever heard. He put the words in a blender, and he's Jerry Holman's so nervous he comes out with, any of these knives or the gun? Did you have that the day you were that you recall having that with you on the day of the 13th when you're out at the bridge? What the hell?
With conflict, that's number one. He, regardless of the training that he has the wrong personality to be an interrogator. If you're so scared of conflict that you can't phrase a question clearly and directly, if you can't ask questions, you can't be a question asker. So how did this guy get this far? Or maybe this is his first time ever doing an interrogation, but for God's sakes, if you're going to talk to people, ask direct questions and ask them cleanly, or you're going to get garbage out, garbage in, garbage out. So anyways, did you have them with you when you were on the bridge? And he says, He's still not even really taking these questions seriously. And the interviewer says, you don't remember if you did or not? Like he's trying to insinuate now that he's withholding. And the subject says, I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day. Now, I did highlight just because even though I didn't is the most clean, concise, direct answer. When somebody says I didn't, that's it. It means it didn't happen, especially when it's the first time that you've been asked something.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, do you realize the level of intelligence this guy has regarding language? Because look, I'm not saying that I'm the smartest guy in the room or anything like that. I'm not that type like many of these on these YouTube streets. Okay, I'm not that one. But you need to understand this guy's command of language here, Sergio, because he's pointing out really pertinent things. And this is something you learn if you start to learn how to deal with people, okay? He just said that this guy's, he's asked, do you remember if you did or you didn't? First response is like a knee jerk, I didn't. And then he's highlighting just. So let me back it up a bit so I don't want to I don't want to mansplain it to you. But I think it, like I said, this guy goes fast. So we got to slow him down. Okay, we got to slow this down.
The most clean, concise, direct answer. When somebody says I didn't, that's it. It means it didn't happen, especially when it's the first time that you've been asked something. This means multiple things at this point. It means that he's being asked if he had the gun or the knife on the bridge, which is either where or close to where the murders happened. And he simply says, I didn't. That's something that as the interrogator, you should notice that immediately. This should be his second indicator that he may be on the wrong track here. I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day. Just is an extra word. So I went out for a walk that day is how he could have said that. Just means there's some small sensitivity on that. Now, does that mean it's deception? No, especially because there's no other indicators and the questions are being answered directly. So why does he say just? Oh man, there's a million reasons why somebody would take a walk. For one, he wasn't asked why he took a walk. So there's no reason for him to justify that. But maybe you're feeling claustrophobic. Maybe you're feeling under the weather. You wanted to get fresh air. Maybe your wife had a little party going on and you ate too much bean dip and you're like, I need to go take a walk. Like there's going to be reasons why you go take a walk. And he's not mentioning them, which is why you see the word just right here. So this is a very truthful and direct statement. And he goes on to say, I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay? And he says, okay.
I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay?
Okay.
So handguns, as you know, probably.
Okay, I want to add my 2 cents in here too, because I want you to look at Rick, look at his face when this weird phrase comes out. He says, I want to talk about the handgun or whatever. Look at Rick's face, because I don't see an inkling of stress. Like I've said so many times, and you may not remember it because most people don't remember a damn thing I say, but I've said so many times how, isn't it odd that any idiot, that anyone would keep that gun if he had indeed used that gun as part of that crime, even if it was not used to shoot anyone or not? Don't you find it odd that he would hold on to that gun? Who in the hell would hold on to a gun? Is cheap. Guns are cheap. Who in the hell would hold on to a gun that had been used in a double murder of 2 little girls and you're still living within miles of that? You'd hold on to a gun? I never understood the logic in that. What kind of idiot would hold on to a gun? Anyway, let me let it continue because I that's not my point. That's just a side thought. But I want you to get back to watch Rick. Watch him like you're the principal of the school, okay? And someone stole a candy off the teacher's desk or something. Watch Rick's eyes and his face when he first mentions a gun, and tell me if you see nervousness or like, what? Watch.
You may know more about them than I do. I don't know a lot, but they're very specific as far as the characteristics of the gun. So the firing pin is different from your firing pin. The extraction device is different from my extraction device. And they're basically, what the lab has told me is that they're like fingerprints.
He could have said that.
I think I messed up and skipped. So let me get to the spot that I'm trying to have you focus. Okay, sorry. I apologize. I'm just fumbling with technology here. Sorry.
You wanted to get fresh air. Maybe your wife on to say, I want, and you ate too much bean dip and you're like, I need to go take a walk. Like, there's going to be reasons why you go take a walk. And he's not mentioning them, which is why you see the word just right here. So this is a very truthful and direct statement. And he goes on to say, I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay? And he says, okay.
I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay?
Okay.
So
That was it. That was it. All right. That was it. Rewind. Okay, we're going to rewind. And you look again. Look at the expression. It's basically like, okay, what about my fucking gun? My gun's good. What the fuck are you asking about? Okay, so watch. Let's watch it again. I mean, don't miss this, because for me, it's kind of big when it comes to the gun.
Here. So this is a very truthful and direct statement. And he goes on to say, I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay? And he says, okay.
I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay?
Okay.
So handguns.
Did you catch it? I'll do it one more time. I'm sorry to be annoying, but I think it's important. It's an important moment, okay?
Here. So this is a very truthful and direct statement. And he goes on to say, I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay? And he says, okay.
I want to talk about the results of your handgun, okay?
Okay.
So handguns, as you know, probably.
Okay. That's the vibe I get. Okay. What about my gun, motherfucker?
You may know more about them than I do. I don't know a lot, but they're very specific as far as the characteristics of the gun. So the firing pin is different from your firing pin. The extraction device is different from my extraction device. And they're basically, what the lab has told me is that they're like fingerprints. They're specific to that gun and that gun only.
Okay.
Okay. So we took your gun, your 40 cal SIG, and we sent it down there to the lab to have it match with an item that we located on February the 14th when we found the girls.
Okay.
So handguns, as you know, the firing pin is different from your firing pin. The extraction device is different from my extraction device. And they're basically, what the lab has told me is that they're like fingerprints. The subject says, is it? And he says, they're specific to that gun and that gun only. Now, at this point, he's trying to apply pressure. The interrogator thinks this is a gotcha moment. He's expecting some reaction. And has it crossed his mind yet that he's not going to get that reaction? And Richard says, okay. And again, now at this point, even an untrained interrogator should realize that he's been talking about testing this stuff, DNA, fingerprints, extraction pins, and he wants to talk very specifically about his weapons. And you're still not seeing even the slightest nervousness or defensiveness from the subject here. So we took your gun, your 40 caliber SIG, and we sent it down there to the lab to have it matched with an item that we located on February 14th when we found the girls. So now he's saying, I am tying your weapon to the murder. He just told him that. Richard says, okay. Again, no reaction because Richard's literally waiting for more information. He doesn't feel threatened. He's just listening to the story at this point, which is very confusing to the interrogator here. The interviewer says, and that item was a 40 caliber Winchester round. We found that at the scene. Again, Richard says, okay. The extraction marks on that round. And Richard says,
The extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Perfect.
So
This is, okay.
he says, match your gun. So this, and now Richard is it's starting to dawn on him that he's being questioned here. So let's keep going here.
Yeah, that's another moment. Okay, let me bring myself up here. That's another moment that I found the reaction of Richard's face is pretty telling here. All right? So let's look at that again. Like I'm saying, this guy's kind of blazing through it. I'm more of a slow goer. Let's look again at the reaction that he just made, and you'll see what I mean. I might have to do it a couple times for you. So.
And now Richard is starting to round. We found that at the scene. Again, Richard says, okay. The extraction marks on that round. And Richard says,
the extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Perfect.
Do you see he even smiled? Did you catch that? Like, look at it again, okay? Look at it again. I mean, it goes by. It's a real quick one, but watch the reaction here. Let's see.
round. We found that at the scene. Again, Richard says, okay. The extraction marks on that round. And Richard says,
the extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Perfect.
So
he literally was laughing. Like it made him laugh. Do you see that? He's like, what are you talking about?
This is, okay.
he says, match your gun. So this, and now Richard is it's starting to dawn on him that he's being questioned here. So let's keep going here. The interviewer cuts him off and says, the extraction, that's the best picture of them. And he hands him the picture. There's actually 3 of them. That's the same round that we found. Okay. And like I said, the methodology that they use, that they use as scientific, and they were telling me, and this is the report. You can read it if you wish.
that report, you can read it if you wish.
I don't need to read it.
The interrogator is fumbling here, and he's not comfortable enough in conducting an interrogation to control the interrogation. The interrogator has, at this point, shown that he has completely lost control of this interrogation. And it's way too early in the interrogation for the interrogator to have lost control. And then Richard says, I don't need to read it. That's a problem if you're the interrogator. If somebody says, I don't need to read it, it means that number one, either they don't know how to read and they don't want to be embarrassed, or they know what's in it. The only way that you can know what's in the report is if you didn't do anything wrong. Because if you did something wrong, you're going to grab that report and look at what evidence they have against you. That's the reason why the interrogator asked him if he wants to read it. But the fact that he said no is, again, another indicator, which we've seen already multiple indicators, that Richard at this point is still not processing that there's a threat against him. And there's only one reason, and that's because he didn't do anything. So the interrogator should be analyzing the situation that he's in and reassessing his approach at this point. The interviewer says, okay, well, I'm just trying to help you, let me tell you something. Number one, and they tell you this, they emphasize this point very, very heavily. I probably heard it 20 or 30 times, that you don't ever tell that person that you're trying to help them, because you're not trying to help them. And while it's perfectly fine for an interrogator to lie, and they do it all the time, what you don't want to do is undermine your own credibility.
All right, I think this was huge. So I'm going to pause him for a minute, because this guy blazes through this so fast. I can keep up as a listener, But I think for my viewers, I have to slow it down because literally every point he's hitting, he's like ticking all the boxes, like check, 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 check. And as a listener, I can listen fast, but I don't think I can present it fastly. I feel like I have to slow it all down for you. I wish I should have put it half speed, but he would have sounded drunk. He would have sounded drunk. But so what he's getting into is this whole thing of I'm trying to help you. No. First of all, you don't tell me you're trying to help me when you're saying that I'm involved in a double homicide. You're not trying to help me. I mean, if you were trying to help me, you would have said, "Hey, bud, we're going to be charging you for double homicide. Just go ahead, get a lawyer. We'll talk to your lawyer later." You don't say, "Hey, we want to just talk. Come get your car. Oh, by the way, while you're here, we just want to talk. I'm trying to help you. You see, your gun is tied to this crime scene. You see, I'm just trying to help you, buddy. You and your wife. I'm going to bring your wife in, abuse the shit out of her in a minute." All right.
Anybody knows that the interrogator is not
I'm going to back it up just for good measure.
is still not processing that there's a threat against him. And there's only one reason, and that's because he didn't do anything. So the interrogator should be analyzing the situation that he's in and reassessing his approach at this point. The interviewer says, "Okay, well, I'm just trying to help you, let me tell you something." Number one, and they tell you this, they emphasize this point very, very heavily. I probably heard it 20 or 30 times, that you don't ever tell that person that you're trying to help them, because you're not trying to help them. And while it's perfectly fine for an interrogator to lie, and they do it all the time, what you don't want to do is undermine your own credibility. Anybody knows that the interrogator is not there to help them. And so when they say, "I'm just here to help you," that completely undermines their credibility. It means that you shouldn't, can't, and won't trust anything that they say for the rest of the interrogation or interview. Now,
don't trust a damn word coming out of anyone in Carroll County's mouth. Trust me. You don't trust Brian Harshman. You don't trust Steve Mullen. You don't trust Jerry Holman. You don't trust Nick McClellan. You trust no one from this group. Do you understand now? And half the ones on YouTube.
This is an example of how people just use the read technique incorrectly. They just don't understand it. It feels like you should say that you're trying to help somebody. Anytime somebody's trying to help somebody else, that's sort of a way to bond. You're trying to help me, then I'm going to open up to you. That is a human condition. I went through months and months of interrogator trainings. And you know how many times that I've said that? I just want to help you. And it just got beaten out of me. Don't say that. You can't say that, because it's not true. And it lets everybody, you should.
All right, listen to what he says again. He goes so fast through it. He says, "I've been through months and months of interrogator training. Do you know how many times I've said I'm trying to help you? And it was beaten out of me." All right?
Say that you're trying to help somebody. Anytime somebody's trying to help somebody else, that's sort of a way to bond. You're trying to help me, then I'm going to open up to you. That is a human condition. I went through months and months of interrogator trainings. And you know how many times that I've said that? I just want to help you. And it just got beaten out of me. Don't say that. You can't say that, because it's not true. And it lets everybody there know that what you're doing is deceptive. So he says, "I'm trying to help you. Let me tell you something." And then Richard says, "Okay." The prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you locked up. Throw away the key.
This is I'm sorry, I can't let it go. I know this might be annoying. Listen, Sergio's channel, you can watch the whole thing without me interjecting. But for real, Jerry Holman's total incompetency, and we learned something. I was honestly probably 20 years old, or 19 even, when my first mentor, he was like, "Robin, never underestimate the intelligence of someone." He said, "Always speak to their highest intelligence." And that was when, in a situation when I was caught in a difficult musical situation, and I tried to bogart or BS my way out of why I made a mistake and played the wrong notes. And I tried to be like, oh, well, I thought Holman seems like that's how he functions. He assumes that you're as dumb as he is. Okay, let's back it up a little. I don't know. Let's see.
I don't think, okay, true, and it lets everybody there know that what you're doing is deceptive. So he says, I'm trying to help you. Let me tell you something. And then Richard says, okay. The prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you locked up. Throw away the key. I don't think.
The prosecutor and other investigators, they want to see you lock you up, throw away the key. But I don't want to because I'm Jerry Holman. And I'm trying to get information out of you right now. I'm playing nice. I haven't screamed and yelled at you yet.
Okay, this gets all fumbly coming out of his mouth again because he's nervous and afraid of confrontation. The interrogator is. But I want you to keep in mind that Richard, up to this point, thought that he was at the police station to pick up his belongings. Now, this is the first time the interrogator threatens him. This is an outright threat. The prosecutor and the other investigators want to lock you up. This is the moment that this outing to pick up his stuff has turned into a police interrogation. This is not what the Reed course teaches. You are supposed to do your entire lead up, your deception detection, before you ever transition into an interrogation. Threatening the subject is something that you do in the later half of the interrogation because you have to already know their indicators of deception, or you don't know how to look for them when you start to threaten them and put them under stress. Let's continue. I wrote this as poor technique because the subject hasn't been accused of anything yet. There's that moment where you transition. As the interrogator, you have to make one direct accusation. I know you did this. There's no question that you did this. I just want to know, why did you do this? And once you get that reaction, then you say, did you do this? That is very standard. It has to be done in every interrogation. If you don't ask those questions, then you haven't actually asked those questions. If you don't ask, did you murder those girls? Then you didn't ask, did you murder those girls? Okay, there's nothing to deny until there's an accusation. And look, there hasn't been an accusation yet. Let's see where this goes from here. He says they want to lock you up and throw away the key. And Richard says, that's ridiculous. He laughs.
Okay, yeah. So he says they want to lock you up and throw away the key. And Richard says, that's ridiculous, and laughs.
Now he closes his hands on his lap in a defensive manner. Now it has been made very clear to him that he's in an interrogation. And so we all expect now to see a clamming up. Now, this is the first accusation. And so I would expect if this person is deceptive, if they are guilty, then you would see immediate anger here. This is where that answer from Richard should have come back aggressively if he was being deceptive. If it's a truthful person, this should take him off guard. And look what he says. That's ridiculous. That's literally how you say this is taking me off guard. So the interviewer, just listen to me for 2 minutes. Let me explain this to you. I'm on your side. I talked to you a little bit out there on the scene. I know you mentioned a couple of times that you didn't want to be the fall guy for this. You also mentioned to me the other day when I was telling you, hey, I want to check the property out to make sure there's no damage. And you said, it doesn't matter. It's over. You make comments like that to me. That really concerns me. Okay. This line of questioning is fine right here. And Richard says, sure. And interviewer says, right, it's concerning. He's not getting a reaction from this, and so he's emphasizing the it's concerning again. Now, why did Richard say sure? Because he's now been threatened, right? And you're thinking, if I was in that situation, at this point, I would be reacting more. And that's the thing, is that when you're shocked by an unexpected accusation, it takes a minute, it takes a second to adjust. You're not going to instantly get angry. You're going to have a reaction of, what am I hearing? Like, this doesn't jive with my reality. This accusation is not part of my reality. And there's something called an OODA loop, where it takes you a while to orient to a threat. And here you're seeing that. It's taking him a second to orient to what's going on. And he says, sure. The interrogator doubles down. Right, it's concerning, to try and put that pressure on him. Richard comes back and says, what I mean by it's over is that you've already started something here that there's no backing out of. So you've done, the damage is done. I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would have been referring to. Okay, so there's a couple things to look at here. He uses the word.
Remember how I said that prior sentence where I said it was like he took all the words, put them in a blender and scrambled them, and he was a bumbling idiot. I bet blah blah blah. That's another sentence. Anyway, hold on.
Comes back and says, what I mean by it's over is that you've already started something here that there's no backing out of. So you've done, the damage is done. I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would have been referring to. Okay, so there's a couple things to look at here. He uses the word started. We need to look at that. Started is an indicator that something started but didn't end. The detective started the accusations, and now it's continuing, and it's continuing to hurt Richard Allen. This is actually the perfect use of the word started. This is the reason why I analyzed the word started. There is an action that started that hasn't finished that's causing damage. When a deceptive person is using the word started, they're telling you that something began but didn't end and that damage was being done. But a deceptive person is not going to tell you the damage that's being done. They are going to simply say, I started sending so-and-so to bed, and then I went and started getting ready myself. There's no insinuation of violence or of harm. In here, he's saying, you started hurting me back then, and it's still going on. So this is like literally a perfect example of the way that you would use the word started truthfully.
All right. I don't know if all of you kept up with that because it's a lot of information in a short period of time. This goes back to when the whole thing, like, remember, Richard says it's over. It doesn't matter. It's over. Let me back this up because I think it's important to really focus on this phrase. I know, like I said, I know this is a little painful to keep stopping it, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Let's see.
An action that started that.
Okay, I want to back it up even further. Let's see.
Pulls down, right. It's concerning. So trying to accusation by an unexpected, and so all guy for this.
All right. So this is the phrase I'm referring to because remember the troll farm, they went absolutely berserker over this. Remember the troll farm going berserker over this, and they really pushed it. And I'm talking about all the dumbass trolls, Turbo Time, and all them trolls. They were saying that he made the phrase, "It doesn't matter, it's over." You know, it's over. It doesn't matter, it's over. And what he was referring to is, you've already searched my house in front of all my neighbors. I really care what people think about me. I'm somewhat of an awkward, depressed guy, and I worry about what people think about me. And now you've come over and you have all these cars at my house. You're searching my house. You've already talked to people. And he says, it doesn't matter. It's over. This is what's being commented on. So with those things in mind, listen to this part again.
You also mentioned to me the other day when I was telling you, hey, I want to check the property out to make sure there's no damage. And you said, it doesn't matter. It's over. You know, you make comments like that to me. That really concerns me. Okay. This line of questioning is fine right here. And Richard says, sure. And interviewer says, right. It's concerning. He's not getting a reaction from this. And so he's emphasizing that it's concerning again. Now, why did Richard say sure? Because he's now been threatened, right? And you're thinking, if I was in that situation at this point, I would be reacting more. And that's the thing, is that when you're shocked by an unexpected accusation, it takes a minute, it takes a second to adjust. You're not going to instantly get angry. You're going to have a reaction of, what am I hearing? Like, this doesn't jive with my reality. This accusation is not part of my reality. And there's something called an OODA loop, where it takes you a while to orient to a threat. And here you're seeing that. It's taking him a second to orient to what's going on. And he says, sure. The interrogator doubles down. Right. It's concerning. So trying to put that pressure on him. Richard comes back and says, What I mean by it's over is that you've already started something here that there's no backing out of. So you've done, the damage is done, I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would have been referring to. Okay, so there's a couple things to look at here. He uses the word started. We need to look at that. Started is an indicator that something started but didn't end. The detective started the accusations and now it's continuing, and it's continuing to hurt Richard Allen. This is actually the perfect use of the word started. This is the reason why I analyzed.
All right, now we're back to where I looped on back. But I have Apophis welcome, and he's saying this. See, let's back that up. Yeah. Back to the oodle.
Something started but
He's talking about Richard orienting to the threat. You get it? So
didn't end. The detective started the accusations and now it's continuing, and it's continuing to hurt Richard Allen. This is actually the perfect use of the word started. This is the reason why I analyzed the word started. There is an action that started that.
sorry, Gilletta. Yeah. I know. It's here. Let's take a break from this. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take a break. But let me say this. Have you noticed a thing with these people? Oh, fuck it. I'll take a break. Because I'm glad you mentioned this. And this is a little aside as well. They love giving themselves awards and promotions. Remember, Jerry Holman got promoted on up in the course of all this. Judge Gull got promoted on up in the course of all this. They love giving commendations, awards. They love walking over hot shards of glass because they're not liars for each other in the lodge. Let's be honest here. None of us are stupid. They're all Freemasons, high level, master Masons. They love bending over back for each other, awarding each other, promoting each other, bootstrapping each other. It's really ridiculous. And so everybody gets a commendation. You know, it's like the it's like when the what do they call those things? Never mind. I'll move on. You know what I'm talking about? The tokens in the military. What are they called? The tokens in the military. I'm not a military guy. It's not ingrained in my memory. But you know, challenge coin or something like that. Is that what it's called? No, we got some former military in here. Challenge coin or whatever. You know, you pass them on. Good job. Well, this is what it's called. Okay, this is what it's called in the corrupt law enforcement world. It's called commendation. Yeah. All right, so let me continue.
Hasn't finished, that's causing damage. When a deceptive person is using the word started, they're telling you that something began but didn't end and that damage was being done. But a deceptive person is not going to tell you the damage that's being done. They're going to simply say, I started sending so-and-so to bed, and then I went and started getting ready myself. There's no insinuation of violence or of harm. In here, he's saying, you started hurting me back then, and it's still going on. So this is like literally a perfect example of the way that you would use the word started truthfully. And then the other concerning thing, the only thing that's not direct, I guess what I'm saying, that what I would have been referring to. So instead of saying that's what I was referring to back then, he says that's what I would have been referring to. And would have been means that he wasn't. So because if he was, he would have said was. Now, how does that jive in here? You got to look at the context here. So why did this turn hypothetical? That's what I would have done, is because the long story short is that he hadn't thought it through clearly in that moment, the way that he just explained it here. He had the beginning of that thought. That's when he blurted out back then, he said, it doesn't matter, it's over anyways. That was a reaction in that moment. Now that he's removed from that moment, he can better articulate it. That's the reason why he used would've. Would've is an indicator of sensitivity, but without other indicators, it's just an indicator of sensitivity, not of deception. And so that's why we are looking at this to try and figure out what the context of that is. And it's a simple answer. If you put yourself in his shoes, At the point where they were executing a search warrant, he was taken by surprise by that. His neighbors were standing there watching, and he knew that this was going to hurt him. Interviewer: okay, and I agree with that. We have started this. We've been working on this for a long time, and all the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved.
I hate to make light of it, but read this sentence. This is Jerry Holman. We have started this. We've been working on this for a long time. We've deleted 70 days of incriminating evidence against the actual perpetrators. And all this manufactured evidence is clearly indicating that you're involved in this. Oh my God.
In this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy, but all the evidence. Now, the interrogator is using the read technique incorrectly here because he has not made a direct accusation yet.
Another technicality. Okay. He's using the read technique incorrectly. You don't say. Let's hear that again, mister.
Evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy, but all the evidence. Now, the interrogator is using the read technique incorrectly here because he has not made a direct accusation yet. He should have gotten up and left the room to review his notes and then come back in, sat down, and said something along the lines of, I already know that you did this, Rick, and then follow it with a question like, Rick, did you kill those two girls? Let him answer it and then follow up with, why did you kill those girls? Now you can reverse those. It's more natural if you reverse those two questions. But at the point where you're saying all the evidence clearly indicates that you're involved in this, that is the transition itself. You have to follow that with the question, which is, why did you do this? Because as an interrogator, you're only there to answer that question. So if you don't ask that question, you can't get the answer to it. At this point, Richard is still in the process of orienting himself here. And so he says, in the affirmative. Interviewer: you say you're out there. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have experts that say that you're on video and that's your voice on the video. And Richard says, okay. So at this point, he's not arguing with any of this. He's just listening, which again should tell you that he's trying to orient, which means he hasn't oriented yet.
All right. I'm sorry, but I got to comment here too. I have to interject here too. I want you to listen to that phrase. Okay, listen to that phrase and ask yourself, if this is a guilty guy, why would the response to this phrase be, okay, and? It's basically like saying, and. Okay, so let me put it right. Let's rewind right here.
Richard:
we have witnesses. Okay, now think. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have expert that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video. And Rick's response, okay, and? Nobody finds that alarming?
Says, okay. So at this point, he's not arguing with any of this. He's just listening, which again should tell you that he's trying to orient, which means he hasn't oriented yet. So if he had done this, then he would already know what this stuff means, but he doesn't. It's still catching him off guard. The more evidence that's presented, the more Richard is sitting there like, okay. Like so the only thing that you can say as you're getting in information that you've never processed before is okay. So the interviewer says, experts, not me. I'm not. Okay, so at this point, the interrogator's like, oh, there's all these experts. I'm not me. I'm not the expert. And Richard says, yeah, gotcha. I gotcha. I understand what you're saying.
All the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there, we have witnesses out there, we have your vehicle, we have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, because I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round at the scene, not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge.
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out.
Okay, I don't want to move into the second part before we finish that. So let me draw your attention again. I'm going to do another annoying do-over. Okay, another annoying do-over. Listen to this, okay? Let's see. I want to bring it back about 40 seconds, maybe.
Off guard. The more evidence that's presented, the more Richard is sitting there like, okay. Like there's the only thing that you can say as you're getting in information that you've never processed before is okay. So the interviewer says, experts, not me. I'm not. Okay, so at this point, the interrogator's like, oh, there's all these experts. I'm not me. I'm not the expert. And Richard says, yeah, gotcha. I gotcha.
Hey, do you guys hear my dog dreaming? He's barking in his sleep right now. Look, I hate to wake him up. He's barking in his dream. You hear that? Let me talk to him. Sorry, guys. Every time the dog dreams, it makes me laugh. I'm sorry. It's cute. All right. So what am I saying? Oh, I wanted to say watch. Okay, this is another instance. All right. Let's reorient. I have to orient Prof now. Sorry. Here's what I'm saying. Watch Rick's body language, his facial, his smile, his eyes. Watch Rick's reactions to this incredibly inflammatory, accusatory language. Okay? Watch it. I'm going to make myself smaller so you can.
All the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick. I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, because I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round at the scene,
Okay.
not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge.
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
All right, so I got to be honest with you guys because listen, I've said so many times. How do you know Rick's innocent? How do you know he wasn't there? Because I mean those questions. Because none of us legitimately 100% accurately know anything about this, right? But I look at things like this. Like, look at this guy's responses. Look at Richard Matthew Allen's responses to the incredibly inflammatory accusations that are being hurled at him. It's not what's the word when something is not equal? It's I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Okay, I'm losing the phraseology, but it's not proportionate or proportional to the accusations. And you can't say he's playing it cool. He's not playing it cool. Look at his fucking face. Look at his body language. Look at his eyes and his smile. He's basically like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's literally not even affecting him. And for me, it's things like this that means everything that's happening in this room. It's like I said, this gentleman here, Sergio, and myself, I'm 100% with him, if not more. And remember, he just came into this less than a week ago. He's basing this purely off of the interrogation. But like I say, add this to everything that we've known before. I mean, like I said, I've done, I don't know, 300 to 500 videos on this shit, thousands of hours. We've deep dived every aspect of this case. All right. So let's go back. I want you to watch, like I said, watch his response, his body language, his face, his eyes. Listen to what he says. Like, really take it in. I'm actually going to remove myself for a moment because I really want you to watch it. I'll play it twice maybe. This is the part. This right here should tell you all you need to know.
Video, and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, hell, I'm not an
I
expert.
These experts, I'm not me, I'm not the expert. And Richard says, yeah, gotcha. I gotcha. I understand what you're
All
saying.
the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there, we have witnesses out there, we have your vehicle, we have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, hell, I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round
Mm-hmm.
at the scene,
Okay.
not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge. Well,
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
Again, and that strikes me as an honest response. I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet. So let me play it again twice for you without me interjecting. But I see a genuine response. Okay, no matter how I look at this, I see a genuine response. Now, possibly because they planted the bullets, yeah. So maybe that's why he's this way over the gun. But I'm telling you, I see 100% genuine response here. So it's me. That's my take.
Out there if that's my bullet.
you on the video, the evidence.
It's not me. I'm not. Okay, so at this point, the interrogator's like, oh, there's all these experts. I'm not me. I'm not the expert. And Richard says, yeah, gotcha. I gotcha. I understand what you're
All
saying.
the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there, we have witnesses out there, we have your vehicle, we have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, hell, I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round
Mm-hmm.
at the scene,
Okay.
not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge. Well,
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
there's
He said,
the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there, we have witnesses out there, we have your vehicle, we have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, hell, I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round
Mm-hmm.
at the scene,
Okay.
not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge. Well,
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
there's
He's-
the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick, I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there, we have witnesses out there, we have your vehicle, we have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me, hell, I'm not an
I
expert.
gotcha.
Okay, and now we have your round
Mm-hmm.
at the scene,
Okay.
not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge. Well,
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
there's
he says, okay, and now we have your round. So the bullet is the actual projectile. The casing is what holds all the gunpowder. A round is all of that stuff together. So we have your round, which means we have an unfired bullet. And he says, at the scene, not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge, but what? And now Richard says, I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there, if that's my bullet. There's no indicators of deception. Listen to what he says. I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there, if that's my bullet. So Richard, number one, is very direct. There's no indicators of deception. And he's still trying to process. Interviewer, it's without a doubt that this is very scientific.
Sorry. This is the thoughts that come into my mind. It's without a doubt that this is very scientifical, Richard. This is very scientifical. It's absolutely proven with the science. I mean, trust the science. The science says that the science is the science, and the sciencey scientists say that the scientifical science is sciencey, and that's the science of the scientifical science. And we have the science, and it's very scientifical.
I don't really know what he's trying to say there, and obviously Richard doesn't either, because he says okay. And then the interviewer says, so let me show you a picture of this round where it was found. That's the round right there. It hasn't been out there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Libby's foot. Libby's one of the victims. It's within 6 inches of one of the dead girl's bodies. And then Richard says, there's no way.
Wait up. I thought the round wasn't found when the girls were found. So how do you have a picture of the round with the girl's foot? Anyway, whole other issue about the crime scene being cleared and bullet being found and the sticks being left and all the bullshittery with this setup. And by the way, was that bullet planted in the keepsake box?
Without a doubt, that this is very
Okay.
scientific. So let me show you a picture.
Very
of this round,
scientific.
where it was found. That's the round right there. It hadn't been out there very long.
All right. So listen. You're looking at a crime scene photo. Okay. Do you guys realize that? Because let's be honest here. Holman is pointing to Libby's foot. So he's pointing to Libby's foot and he's saying, look, that's Libby's foot. Are we to believe that there's a crime scene photo that shows Libby's foot and the bullet, but supposedly the bullet wasn't found when the bodies were found? What? I'm not clear on that. But someone's got to explain this. This seems to be kind of weird, but let's back it up a sec. He's looking at a crime scene photo that we're not supposed to see. Remember, they want to hide all this from us.
Show you a picture of this round, where it was found. That's the round.
Okay. You guys are smart. He says, that's the round. Look where he's pointing. He says, that's the round. Now look at Libby's foot. Please, everyone, see this.
Right there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches.
That's the round. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches. Am I wrong on this? Did I misinterpret that they didn't find the round at the time they found the bodies?
Show you a picture of this round, where it was found. That's the round right there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches of one of the dead girls' bodies.
There's no way.
This is at the point where a completely untrained interrogator should begin to realize that when he's not arguing anything except he's saying that's not possible. For somebody that it's taught in the Reed course that if somebody tells you something like that's not possible, that is a huge indicator that you're on the wrong track. It's literally taught in the course. This is like what, the 5th real indicator to the interrogator.
Put the brakes on. I'm not trying to be annoying, but you guys have to listen to this gentleman. This is an amazing guy right here. All right, let's back it up a sec. He says it's literally taught in the course that if someone says that's not possible, okay. Listen to this.
On the wrong track. It's literally taught in the course. This is like what?
Sorry, I didn't go back far enough. Let's see. I'm trying my best here.
For somebody that it's taught in the Reed course.
Shit. Okay.
Realize that when he's not arguing anything except he's saying that's not possible. For somebody that it's taught in the Reed course that if somebody tells you something like that's not possible, that is a huge indicator that you're on the wrong track. It's literally taught in the course. This is like what, the 5th real indicator to the interrogator that he's on the wrong track here. So he says, there's no way, interviewer, there is, and then Richard says, I'm telling you there's not. And then the interviewer says, how did that round get there, Rick? And the subject says, I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is if that is truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round.
There is.
I'm telling you, there's not.
How did that round get there, Rick?
I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is, if that is truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round.
If somebody is dead set that the scientific evidence that you're giving them is wrong, there needs to be a bunch of indicators around that. So we saw this in the Karen Reed case where Brian Higgins kept denying evidence, but every time he did it, it was surrounded.
All right, I'm seeing in the chat. No, that is Liberty's foot. Okay, that is Liberty's foot. I've seen the photos. This is Liberty's foot. So the question is not, is it a mannequin or is it not Liberty? It is Liberty's foot. Okay, sorry.
It's not my round.
If somebody is dead set that the scientific evidence that you're giving them is wrong, there needs to be a bunch of indicators around that. So we saw this in the Karen Reed case where Brian Higgins kept denying evidence. But every time he did it, it was surrounded with indicators of deception because it's virtually impossible to lie and remove every indicator from that. So you should really, as the interrogator, be scared at this point when you're getting such direct denials. And you haven't even asked a question that he has the ability to deny yet. So a question like this, how did that round get there, Rick? That's this broad sort of general question. Yeah, we all know what he's insinuating. The interrogator's job is not to sit there and insinuate that something bad happened. It's to put the subject under direct stress from the actual questions. So I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is if it's truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round. The interviewer, the scientific experts are saying, I got a report saying that
Scientific. Okay, so listen. Jerry Holman is like is a big believer in the science, in the scientific experts.
round came from and Richard says, okay, but understand this. Now he's trying to defend himself. So he gets cut off. You are on the bridge. And Richard says, I told you I was on the bridge.
You were on the bridge.
I told you I was on the bridge.
So the insinuation from the interrogator is like, we can now link you to the bridge. And he says, I told you I was on the bridge. And then the interviewer says, listen, right now, like I said, I got a prosecutor and investigator to lock you up. And if
All right, sorry. I have to stop it again because I always thought that was funny too. When I first heard this a couple of weeks ago, I thought we got you on the bridge. I told you I was on the bridge. You see what I mean? In other words, I saw you in my yard. I told you I was in my yard. Oh, you have a student who, who says, I had to go to the bathroom and I'm back. And then later in the principal's office, you say, I saw you in the hallway. I told you I had to go to the bathroom.
And Richard says, I told you I was on the bridge.
You were on the bridge.
I told you I was on the bridge.
So the insinuation from the interrogator is like, we can now link you to the bridge. And he says, I told you I was on the bridge. And then the interviewer says, listen, right now, like I said, I got a prosecutor and investigator to lock you up. And if you don't give us a narrative, if you don't tell us your side of the story, there's two sides to every story. Hang on. And Richard says, okay.
Listen, right now, like I said, I got a prosecutor and investigators ready to lock you up. And if you don't give us a narrative, if you don't tell us your side of the story, there's two sides to every story. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm trying to help you.
I get that.
And then the interrogator says, I'm trying to help you. The interrogator is, in my mind, when I hear this, I'm trying to help you. I'm using an example from my own life. When I was 10 years old, I was swimming out in a lake and I wasn't a very good swimmer. And I caught a mouthful of water. I got fatigued instantly and I started to drown. And that slapping at the top of the water, trying to pull myself up, is what this looks to me like. Every time now that the interrogator is saying, I want to help you, he's telling you that he's drowning, that he doesn't have control over this situation.
Yeah, for me, that's what it feels like. It feels like begging. It feels like begging. Every time he's like, I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to help you here. It feels like he's begging. That's the moment where he's like, please tell me. Please tell me you did it. I'm begging you. I'm trying to help you here. Give me something.
and he's desperate for Richard to help him interrogate himself. He says, I'm trying to help you. And Richard says, I get that. Now, I feel sorry for Richard at this point. Richard is too trusting. He's naive and he's trusting. And that is ultimately why he's in jail now. Even if he found himself in this situation after he should have asked for a lawyer a long time ago, anybody who is this far into an interrogation, who's innocent, should be asking for a lawyer. You only have the potential of bad happening here. And when an interrogator tells you they're trying to help you, it means that, number one, they have no control over this, they're desperate, and they have an agenda that they're going to push regardless of anything else. And so when they say they're trying to help you, that's it. It doesn't matter whether you're guilty, innocent, nothing matters. At that point, you have to stop talking to them because they don't know what they're doing. And there's nothing good that can happen to you if the interrogator doesn't know what they're doing. All right. Then the interviewer says, the media is going to portray you as this. And he says, I know.
All right. Stop. Now, see, honestly, I will be completely honest with you guys. I'll never fucking lie to you when I mess up. Okay, when I mess up. When I first watched this myself without Sergio's assistance, I missed that. Okay, I missed that. Now, I want you all to think. Think of how I've been saying that there's an organized PR campaign. It went on from day one in Delphi, this entire time, okay? Not only was it exercised on mainstream media outlets, the news channels and the documentary series and such, it was also rolled out on social media. Okay, this has been an extensive PR campaign going back nearly 8 years. Furthermore, when I mentioned how he was paraded around like Hannibal Lecter with the double shackles and the shock vest and the five guys surrounding him and all of that, I mentioned how that was PR to turn him into a monster, just like they tried to turn Bridge Guy into a monster. A lone wolf killer, Bridge Guy, a mysterious monster. And then, since sentencing, or since trial and subsequently sentencing, the entire state of Indiana contingent has been on an extended PR campaign. They've gone onto all the mainstream media and done interviews. They've gone into the Carroll County Comet and done their interviews, all in sequence. Remember, you had what, McClelland come out several times. You had the Patties rolled out. You had Holman rolled out. You had Liggett rolled out. You had Lesenby rolled out. Everybody's rolled out their entire fucking PR campaign since sentencing. They've done it, like I said, on mainstream media, in print media, and on the YouTubes, always hosted by the shills, because no one in their right minds would host these fucktards. I've said before, why, if they knew they had the right guy, if they were confident in their verdict, why on earth would they be on an extended PR campaign when they've already gotten what they wanted? Well, here's the truth of the matter. They're still trying to influence potential future jurors and the public. Why? Because when the public makes a noise, it has an effect on the politicians and the judges. Okay? And there's a potential future jury if an appeal happens successfully, which there's a good possibility of. So you understand what I'm saying here? Like, these people, they haven't given up yet. They're not done yet, because this ain't over yet.
Monster. And you don't want your wife. And so then Richard.
Okay, so my point of saying that was that we're here. Okay. The media, look how Holman, knowingly, he's using this card, the media, as a bargaining tool. See? You get what I'm saying here?
At that point, you have to stop talking to them because they don't know what they're doing. And there's nothing good that can happen to you if the interrogator doesn't know what they're doing. All right. Then the interviewer says, the media is going to portray you as this. And he says, I know. monster, and you don't want your wife. And so then Richard says, and it's already going to get there anyway. So interrogator, yeah, so this is your chance to tell us exactly what happened. Richard, unlike some people, most people, I care what people think about me. And then you do. Richard says, you've already set that ball rolling. So we're back to, they've already started this process of destroying his name and reputation. And the interviewer agrees with him. He says, yeah, but there's only one way to get out in front of it, and that's to tell the truth. What happened that day to. And Richard says, I can't tell you what happened that day. That statement by itself and in and of itself is not a denial.
Yeah, but you know what it tells me? It tells me that he literally cannot. He literally cannot.
But let's look at this direct accusation from the interviewer. But there's only one way to get out in front of it, and that's to tell the truth. What happened that day to. That is not even, that's a statement. So to get out in front of it and tell the truth what happened that day. He's not asking him what exactly happened that day, which is what he's trying to ask, but he's just not confident enough to ask the question. When you don't have a direct question, you can't get a direct denial. And so you're going to get something that is not a direct denial. So I can't tell you what happened that day means one of two things. Either he did it and he's not going to tell you because he can't tell you because it would incriminate himself, or he can't tell you because he doesn't know. But we can't determine which one that is because the questioning is so bad. Now, obviously, we know that it's the latter. We know that he can't tell him because he doesn't know, because of this and 500 questions that come after this. But we'll continue. You can tell us. And then Richard says, how?
I have no doubt in my mind that the evidence clearly indicates that you're involved in this. Are you the mastermind behind this? I don't know.
Mastermind, okay.
How can I
Honestly, that was another one that struck me. Watch Rick's reaction to that too. And you guys know I'm not a completely insane like Rick Allen is innocent, free Ricky Bay. That's not my fucking a jam. You know what I mean? I'm not a total Rick Allen is innocent because I say so. But watch the response to this statement. Like for me, this is what actually is compelling to me. Okay, let's back it up. Watch Rick's response here.
The evidence clearly indicates that you're involved in this. Are you the mastermind behind this? I don't know.
Mastermind, okay.
How can
Mastermind? Rick Allen? Dude, first of all, what would be a mastermind of a lone wolf killing? That's not a mastermind. A mastermind is a whole thing set into motion, like what actually happened to these girls. We are looking for the mastermind. But a mastermind is a mastermind of a whole structure that led to the murders of these two girls, not to a lone wolf killing on a whim with a sexual fantasy. So you see what I mean? What the fuck is a mastermind? It's even preposterous to Rick.
How can I tell you? There's no doubt in my mind that the evidence clearly indicates that you were involved in this. You are the mastermind behind this. I don't know. The interrogator is literally not intelligent enough to be sitting in an interrogation booth. He says, you're the mastermind behind stumbling across two girls on a bridge and stabbing them to death. He is grasping at things that he learned in the Reed course that he doesn't understand. One of the techniques that you're going to face in the interrogation booth is that the interrogator is going to make the crime sound really big and bad, much worse than it actually was, and then say, you're not guilty of this. It's basically an infomercial. You might think that this price would be $1,000, but we're only going to charge you 4 payments of $49.99. That's what this is. You may be a serial killer, but I don't think you're a serial killer. I think you just randomly did this one murder. He says mastermind, but that doesn't fit this scenario. There is no greater criminal action here. So, I mean, he's going to get made fun of here, actually. So Richard says, mastermind? Okay.
Did somebody else set this up? I don't know, Rick. I want to know.
And the interviewer says, did someone else set this up? I don't know, Rick.
Wait, did someone else set up a random sexual fantasy lone wolf killing on a stroll where you randomly encounter two girls you want to assault? You see what I mean about these contradictions?
to know.
When he leave here, which way did he go? We looking for him. This way, this way, this way? I don't know.
I only know the truth will set you free. That's it. And Richard says, yeah, the truth will protect you from the media. Now, what does that mean? If the truth was that he killed those girls and he says that, how is that protecting him from the media? None of this makes any sense. And you have to make sense as the interrogator. You have to have a clear mind and a clear plan, and you have to be maneuvering on your own map. If you're maneuvering on someone else's map, you're in uncharted territory. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel like you're grasping at straws, which is exactly what he's doing. He says, so the truth will protect you from the media. And Richard says, that's what I would have thought. Well, damn. That's a good comeback, actually. We'll tell the truth. Tell me how this round got next to one of our girls in between both girls. That is not an accusation. Tell me how this happened means I'm the detective and I don't know what happened in this murder. So can I please get your help, is what he's saying. There's no direct questions here. Well, tell the truth. Tell how this round got next to one of our girls in between both girls. And Richard says, I don't know. If I was the supervisor of this guy, well, if I was supervisor, you wouldn't be working. But literally anyone who's ever worked in law enforcement.
He says if I was Holman's supervisor, he wouldn't be working. Did you catch that? The Fed says if I was Holman's supervisor, he wouldn't have a job, buddy. Let's read that again. I mean, let's watch it. It's delicious. Let's watch it again. Anyone up for dessert? All right. Are you guys having a good Monday night? Oh, Jesus. Is it Monday?
He's saying there's no direct questions here. Well, tell the truth. Tell how this round got next to one of our girls in between both girls. And Richard says, I don't know. If I was the supervisor of this guy, well, if I was supervisor, you wouldn't be working. But literally anyone who's ever worked in law enforcement should have pulled him out of this interview and stopped it. When the interrogator is getting owned by the subject.
Owned. Did you hear what he said? His supervisor should have pulled him out of this interview, and he shouldn't have a job. He's getting literally owned. And I'm not, listen, it's a fucking Monday night, and we're sitting here astonished. Like when Skip Jansen says ineptitude of these people. Okay, do you understand why he chooses that word?
Literally anyone who's ever worked in law enforcement should have pulled him out of this interview. He's saying there's no direct questions here. Well, tell the truth. Tell how this round got next to one of our girls in between both girls. And Richard says, I don't know. If I was the supervisor of this guy, well, if I was supervisor, you wouldn't be working. But literally anyone who's ever worked in law enforcement should have pulled him out of this interview and stopped it. When the interrogator is getting owned by the subject, the interrogator doesn't have control. But when the subject is clearly being direct, very straightforward, his body language is very direct, there's no end game in this interrogation. There's nowhere that this can go that is going to end up with a confession. The interrogator is just going farther and farther underwater.
Well, tell the truth. Tell me how this round got next to one of our girls in between both girls.
I don't know.
You do know. And if you don't tell me, you're going down for this.
Point. And the interrogator says, you do know. And if you don't tell me, you're going down for this. Now that's a threat. This is why, in fact, I should have read that question. This is exactly why I would have stopped that interrogation right where he says, I don't know, is because at this point, the only thing that can happen is the interrogator is going to start making mistakes. And beginning to threaten the subject is coercion. You can say that I have enough evidence to arrest you right now. And
put the brakes on, Prof. Did you just hear that statement? Did you hear the statement? Maybe we need to hear it again. Beginning to threaten the subject is coercion. Was that the phrase that I just heard pass by my ears?
Point. And the interrogator says, you do know. And if you don't tell me, you're going down for this. Now that's a threat. This is why, in fact, I should have read that question. This is exactly why I would have stopped that interrogation right where he says, I don't know, is because at this point, the only thing that can happen is the interrogator is going to start making mistakes. And beginning to threaten the subject is coercion. You can say that I have enough evidence to arrest you right now, and I want your explanation of this. And if you don't give me that explanation, then I'm going to arrest you, which could lead to going to trial, getting convicted, and spending the rest of your life in jail, or even being executed. You can say that. But what you can't say is, you're going down for this. I have no idea who the actual killer is, but I have stats to fill, and someone has to go down for this.
You understand? You understand the concept here? You can't say you're going down for this. I have to fill my stats. I got to meet that quota. That's the threat you can't give. That's coercion.
And that's going to be you. That just, his own thought process just leaked out in that question. The thought by most...
Did you hear that? Holman's own thought process was projected in that question. Let's listen to it again.
You're going down for this. I have no idea who the actual killer is, but I have stats to fill, and someone has to go down for this, and that's going to be you. That just, his own thought process just leaked out in that question. The thought by most interrogators is that if you put your subject under stress and pressure, that the truth is going to leak out of them. And the truth does tend to leak out under pressure, but only when you have diarrhea of the mouth. And right now, that is not coming from the subject. The subject is in complete control, and he's being very direct and honest. The diarrhea of the mouth is coming from the interrogator here. And now he's starting to tell you that he has to pin this on somebody. And I'm going to notate that now because you're going to see that a bunch. And then Richard says,
okay, we got to hear it again. Like I said, this dude talks incredibly fast. Let's hear that again because it's worth emphasizing. Let's see. I'll back it up 15 seconds.
Is not coming from the subject. The subject is in complete control, and he's being very direct and honest. The diarrhea of the mouth is coming from the interrogator here. And now he's starting to tell you that he has to pin this on somebody. And I'm going to notate that now because you're going to see that a bunch. And then Richard says, okay. And then he says, I'm serious. This is what a joking matter. And Richard says, I'm not joking. Next question. And the interrogator is going down this line, this path, which is a bad path for an interrogator to be going down. He says, you're this close. And Richard says, you realize what you've done to me.
All right, I have to back it up again because I didn't go back far enough.
Leak out of them. And the truth does tend to leak out under pressure, but only when you have diarrhea of the mouth. And right now, that is not coming from the subject. The subject is in complete control, and he's being very direct and honest. The diarrhea of the mouth is coming from the interrogator here. And now he's starting to tell you that he has to pin this on somebody. And I'm going to notate that now because you're going to see that a bunch. And then Richard says, okay. And then he says, I'm serious. This is what a joking matter. And Richard says, I'm not joking. Next question. And the interrogator is going down this line, this path, which is a bad path for an interrogator to be going down. He says, you're this close. And Richard says, you realize what you've done to me. This is like you've talked to the people I work with. You've talked to my neighbors. You know, I've got anxiety. I got all kinds of stress and depression. And one of the big things is you cannot even think something about me, but if I think you think something about me, it bothers me.
All right, I don't want to press this issue too much either, but before Sergio gives his analysis of this, I just want to say this as a general umbrella here. Now that we know Rick's medical history to some extent, okay, maybe some of you don't know as much as some of the behind the scenes people, but let's say we are absolutely confident about Rick's medical history. He's certified depressive. Okay, this is no trying to claim something that isn't. There's a medical history here. And so if you read this paragraph here, which I'm going to do for you now, and Sergio will continue momentarily, but you need to understand this, okay? And this is talking this is looking at the medical records and talking to Kathy, the consensus among the investigators about his medical reality. Stress depression, anxiety. Okay. If you read this here, this is literal a confession. This is truth. In other words, Rick is being 1000% honest in this paragraph. And that's something the trolls can't change. So he says, I've got anxiety. Fact. All kinds of stress and depression. Fact. One of the big things, you cannot even think something about me, but if you think something about me, it bothers me. You see, like this statement here, this entire response to Holman is absolutely factual. He's confessing. He's being genuinely transparent. He's giving a factual justification for why he would be upset that they are making him look bad to people. This is my point in this. This is alarming. This means he's being honest, or this is not deception. If he was being deceptive, he wouldn't say this.
This path, which is a bad path for an interrogator to be going down. He says, "You're this close." And Richard says, "You realize what you've done to me. This is like you've talked to the people I work with. You've talked to my neighbors. I've got anxiety. I got all kinds of stress and depression. And one of the big things is you cannot even think something about me. But if I think you think something about me, it bothers me. And that's already done, because people out there already know that you think I did something." Okay, we have one indicator that's repeated over and over again in here. We have repeated words. We got you, I, and, I, you. So what does that mean? The ands are not meaningful here. It's the pronouns that repeat that we want to look at. And so the you, and the I is causing a lot of stress. Remember that doubling up is highly sensitive. Tripling up is deception. None of the pronouns here triple up.
Okay, now that's an important point too, that we have to, I'm going to let him say it again, because listen to what he says, because I had never known this, but it checks with me, okay? But about doubling up and tripling up, okay? Check it out.
Look at. And so the you, and the I is causing a lot of stress. Remember that doubling up is highly sensitive. Tripling up is deception. None of the pronouns here triple up. So we want to keep this all in context. Do we have other indicators of deception? We actually don't. So now we got to figure out where the stress is coming from. Well, the topic is he's talking about his own mental health. And I happen to know that if you are ADHD, if you're neurodivergent, what he's talking about here is called rejection sensitivity disorder, or RSD. And that's common amongst people with ADHD. So the most logical answer here is he's saying that if he's involved in an interaction with somebody and that person thinks negatively of him, or there's a possibility for that, that causes increased stress. And we see that here because he's literally telling you that the investigation itself is causing him stress, and you're seeing stress in his language, but you're not seeing indicators. You're seeing stress sensitivity markers, but not indicators of deception. Don't confuse this with when there are other indicators of deception, and then you see this. What it means is that you're seeing stress because of the deception. But without the deception, you're seeing stress about the content of what they're saying. The simple answer here is rejection sensitivity, and that's causing him a tremendous amount of stress. It's very straightforward. And then the interrogator says, "I don't think," and Richard says, "I didn't think." The interviewer says, "I don't think that the evidence clearly indicates you're involved." Richard says, "Mm-hmm."
Did we hear that as well? Because I missed that. I told you I'm going to tell you when I goof. When I watched the interview, I also missed that. Did you hear what Jerry? Okay, let's back it up. Look at what Jerry just said. I mean, this is.
And then the interrogator says, "I don't think," and Richard says, "I didn't think." The interviewer says, "I don't think that the evidence clearly indicates you're involved."
I don't think the evidence clearly indicates that you're involved. What?
And then the interrogator says, I don't think. And Richard says, I didn't think. The interviewer says, I don't think that the evidence clearly indicates you're involved. Richard says, mm-hmm. Again, I talked about leakage, right? If you're forced to talk for too long under stress, then you're going to leak out your true thoughts and feelings. And this is the second time now that we've gotten leakage. I don't think that the evidence clearly indicates you're involved. And the only thing Richard has to say to that is, mm-hmm, yeah, duh. The interrogator goes on, so if you were in my seat, again, if you were in my seat, he's asking for help. If you were in my seat and that I had you saying you were out there, witnesses saying you're out there at the same time, the girls, and now after a search warrant of your house, we find a gun, your gun. Have you owned that gun, right? And then Richard says, I do. The interviewer says, when did you buy it? He says, oh my gosh, I don't even remember. He's clearly trying to recall. And then the interrogator goes on to say, 2001, I checked for you. I know a lot of the answers to the questions I'm going to ask you, but I'm just trying to give you the opportunity to be honest.
Gun, have you owned that gun, right?
I do.
When did you buy it?
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember. I mean, it was-
2001. I
Okay.
checked for you. I know a lot of the answers to the questions I'm going to ask you, but I'm just trying to give you the opportunity to be honest. That's
Okay.
why I asked the question. So you bought it in 2001 in Peru.
Okay.
And I asked you if you ever loaned anything out. I gave you scenarios. No. So that's your gun. Either you had that gun or somebody had that gun. There's no way that round gets on that property where these two girls were killed without that gun being there. And you're there, your car's there, witnesses say
There is no way a round from my gun was anywhere near the girls, the bridge. It just didn't happen.
All right. So honestly, I want to come up again and address this one because, I haven't covered this interview. Basically, I didn't want to do the clickbait shit that everyone else was doing. Like, let's be honest here. People do clickbait on YouTube for the views. So I didn't want to be like grifting off of this fucking interrogation in that way, which is why I haven't played it and posted and done all that. But this was one of the things that really blasted me away when I first watched this the first 5 times or so. Okay, it was this. It's not a shoe. It's not a shoe. It's her foot. I have the photos. It's her foot. Okay, here's what I'm saying though. There's no bullet. I don't see the bullet. There's no bullet. Okay, here's a point. Jesus, man. This is a difficult point. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to extract the truth for myself. All right. So when I watched the interviews and he made this phrase or this statement, it hit me over the head because it's so declarative and matter of fact. And it's not, normally if someone would do something like this, they would be animated and their pitch in their voice would go high. He matter of factly declares there is no way that a round from my gun is at that bridge or at that crime scene, et cetera, et cetera. You understand? You understand? I'll let him say it himself again for you. But I had not gotten to say this yet for my viewers, so I want my viewers to understand how majorly this stood out among all of this interview. This phrase was probably number one for me in that when confronted directly, and he's directly addressing it in this direct confrontation, his declarative is, there is no way that a bullet from my gun is at this place or at that place at all whatsoever, period. And for me, that's not deception. It means I interpreted it hit me over the head like he absolutely means this phrase. Even if you think he's lying about anything else he might have said, this phrase, there's no deception. He's declaring with a level tone of voice and non-animated, there is no way that a round from my gun is here. So let's hear it again because I can't even get it out. I stumble because I get so excited about it. Let's see.
He's playing, it's called.
All right, sorry.
check for you. I know a lot of the answers to the questions I'm going to ask you, but I'm just trying to give you the opportunity to be honest.
was anywhere near
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Killed without that gun being there. And you're there, your car's there, witnesses say.
there is no way a round from my gun was anywhere near the girls, the bridge. It just didn't happen.
He's playing, it's called file and dossier, where I have a bunch
Okay, again, let's listen to it again because it's compelling.
of you, but I'm just trying to give you the opportunity to be.
Somebody had that gun, because there's no way that round gets on that property where these two girls were killed without that gun being there. And you're there, your car's there, witnesses say.
There is no way a round from my gun was anywhere near the girls, the bridge. It just didn't happen.
He's
Do you see what I mean about how emphatic that is? It's direct, straightforward, declaratory, final, compelling, level, emphatic. Anyway, let's let Sergio continue. This is his show tonight, so apologize. It's just, for me, that was a major moment in this interview.
Just didn't happen.
he's playing, it's called file and dossier, where I have a bunch of information on you, but you're supposed to insinuate it. You're not supposed to say, I have a bunch of information. Let me show you the information that I have. I have all this great information. Like, I know when you bought your gun. He says, because if I asked the question, so you bought it in 2001 in Peru, okay. And if I asked you if you ever loaned anything out, I gave you a scenario, no. So that's your gun. Either you had that gun or somebody had that gun. There's no way that round gets on the property where these two girls were killed without that gun being there. And you're there, your car's there, witnesses say. What is he saying? What question is that? Subject says, there is no way a round from my gun was anywhere near the girls, the bridge. It just didn't happen. At this point, for God's sake, end the interview. It goes downhill quickly from here. Interviewer, and listen, we're trying to help you. Again, he's floundering. We're trying to help you prove what? What's he trying to help him prove? He's about to go off the deep end here. Richard says, no, you're trying to accuse me of murdering two little girls. You calm me down. You ask me a few questions. You ask me what I'm wearing, and I tell you what I think I was probably wearing that day. And then you try to say that I'm saying that's me in that picture, and it's not.
And listen, we're trying to help you. We're trying to help you prove
No,
it.
you're trying to accuse me of murdering two little. Calm me down. You ask me a few questions. You ask me what I'm wearing, and I tell you what I think I was probably wearing that day, and then you try to say that I'm saying that's me in that picture. And it's not.
You don't have to say that.
I'm done.
There is no question in my mind. None. The longer this goes on, the more direct he's getting and the more aggressive he's getting. His anger is increasing, which I would expect to see from an innocent person. His answers are direct. There's no
I'm saying that's me in that picture. And
Once again, for the idiots who don't understand, this dude is not tripping. Okay, this dude ain't tripping. Listen to him.
this goes on, the more direct he's getting and the more aggressive he's getting. His anger is increasing, which I would expect to see from an innocent person. His answers are direct. There's no deception at all. That's why we're just reading through this, because there's nothing for me to point out. Interrogator, you don't have to say that. And he says,
I'm saying that's me in that picture. And it's not.
You don't have to say that.
I'm done.
there is no question in my mind. None. The longer this goes on, the more direct he's getting and the more aggressive he's getting. His anger is increasing, which I would expect to see from an innocent person. His answers are direct. There's no deception at all. That's why we're just reading through this, because there's nothing for me to point out. Interrogator, you don't have to say that. And he says, I'm done. This is a contentious point for me. This is a matter of your rights. And when he says, I'm done, technically, in order to end an interrogation, the subject has to say that they want a lawyer. If you say I'm done, it's ambiguous as to what you mean by that when you say you're done, unless the interrogator says, well, I have a warrant for your DNA. That tells you that, okay, you're done. I heard you say that you're done, but before you leave, I have to get your DNA. Now, he doesn't say before you leave, but that is clearly understood, that the interrogator understands that he said that he's done. So the interrogation should have been over here. Any trained interrogator should know at this point that the subject is innocent. The subject said that he's done, and that the interrogator understood what he meant, because he says that he has a warrant for his DNA, meaning before you leave. Then they go through that whole process, and he starts asking him questions again. I guess what's bothering me so much is that this interrogator has no clue what he's doing, And at this point, he's just berating the shit out of someone who's clearly is showing no signs of deception whatsoever. So the subject says, I figure you're going to arrest me. You obviously think I've done it. The damage is done. Go ahead and do what you're going to do. The interviewer says, okay. And then the subject says, this doesn't just go away. This is funny because I talked about this in another.
Yeah, you know why? You know why? Because he's concerned about what people think about him. This doesn't just go away. You see what I mean? The consistency in his honesty about his feelings about this part of it.
Video, how when I was wrongly accused, you start out in shock, then you get angry, then you get a little self-righteous. When you know you're innocent, I expect to see a little bit of getting up on your high horse here. Like this, eventually he's going to start threatening the interrogator, saying this isn't going to turn out well for you because I'm innocent and you are acting incredibly unprofessional. Richard says, this doesn't just go away. And the interview says, I know. And Richard says, exactly. And then the interviewer says, the only person I think can explaining all this is you, and you're not explaining that to me. And then Richard says, I don't know what it is you want me to explain. I mean, this interrogator is an embarrassment to all law enforcement everywhere. He is getting owned by a subject here. This subject is clearly innocent and direct and honest. And now the subject is making statements that your instructors would be making. He says, I know. And Richard says, exactly. And then the interviewer says, the only person I think can explaining all this is you, and you're not explaining that to me. And then Richard says, I don't know what it is you want me to explain. I mean, this interrogator is an embarrassment to all law enforcement everywhere. He is getting owned by a subject here. This subject is clearly innocent. And
you know what the couple Leos who I talked to said? The exact same fucking thing. They said, this Holman is an embarrassment. And this is exactly what Sergio was saying here.
Direct and honest. And now the subject is making statements that your instructors would be making in your training. Things like, I don't know what it is you want me to explain here. But that's their way of saying you're asking stupid questions. You're not even asking questions. The interviewer has just been called out by the subject. And now he says, what you're doing on the bridge. How did your round get there? And why did you kill these two girls? And why were you involved in this? What was your involvement? Okay. Some people are scared of confrontation, and that's okay. But those people can't be allowed to be detectives. That's the bottom line here. This is two compound questions compounded together. This is like a quadruple pound. It's actually a quintuple question. He's just so terrified of asking a direct question that he asks 5 questions in one question, which no human being can answer. What this boils down to is that the interrogator is too scared to ask one direct question at a time. He's afraid that the subject is going to respond in the negative, and he's not going to know where to go from there. If he asks a direct question and gets a direct response back, that is, I didn't do it, and that's a death sentence to an interrogator. Richard says, I had no involvement, and he gets cut off. Interviewer, listen, Rick, I don't think you're the one that killed them. I don't think you're the one that stuck the knife in.
Really? 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 So Holman doesn't think that Rick is the one that killed them. He doesn't think that Rick is the one that cut them with the knife, or in Holman's completely disrespectful words, stuck the knife in them. Oh, so you don't think that Rick is the one who cut the girls? Now that's an interesting statement, Jerry Holman. I find that incredibly telling. So mastermind, which indicates group. You don't think that Rick is the one?
Them, are you? This is his attempt at the section of the interrogation where he's supposed to have blown this up into this big thing. So this is either like you're a serial killer, or this was a mass murder, or, is this the 50th murder you've done? And then you're supposed to scale it back down here. This is the salesman pitch right here. I don't think you did 50 murders. I think it was just the one that got out of hand, right? This isn't a big thing. Type of deal. And he's trying to scale down from something that he never scaled up. He says, so I don't think you're the one that stuck the knife in them, are you? Now, there's nowhere for him to go because he didn't scale it up. Now he has to say, I don't think you're the one that committed the murder maybe someone else did. But now he's just wildly off into no man's land because that's not relevant to reality. He says, I don't think you're the one that stuck the knife in, are you? And then he says, I didn't either. I didn't think that either. Are you that guy? And then Richard says, really? Really? This is where we're going? And he says, are you? And the subject says, no. Anybody that knows me knows I could never, even if I wanted to, do something like this. That's not who I am. If he had been asked, did you murder those 2 girls? Let me clarify.
That's not who I am. I find that to be an interesting statement too. Now listen, this comes from as a lifelong worker with people, okay, and as a lifelong lover of psychology, and having read volumes and volumes of psychology. Let me tell you something. In my opinion, when someone says, this is not who I am, this is not coming from trying to cover up that they killed someone. No one's gonna try to cover up that they were involved in a murder by saying, yeah, anybody knows me, then I never want to do shit like that. I mean, I do that's not who I am. You're not going to say that's not who I am. You're not going to be thinking about who you are. You understand? If you're covering up that you killed 2 girls, you're not going to be like thinking about saying who you are or who you are not. You understand what I'm saying, listeners? I hope you do. For me, it's very telling as a worker with people and a lover of psychology. It's that you don't do that. You don't bring who you are, concepts of who you are, into defending yourself if you've actually harmed 2 kids. You're not going to say about anything about who you are or are not.
It has to be the first confrontation, which this isn't. This interview has been confrontational for a long time at this point, with no direct accusation. Now he says, are you that guy? Which right before that, the question before was, I don't think you're the one that stuck the knife in them. Are you? Are you that guy? Are you? That's phrasing it in the negative, which is not an accusation. So the subject says no, and now this opens the door to basically any response. Anyone who knows me knows I could never, even if I wanted to, do something like that. That's not who I am. If you ask the question right and you get that response, then that's a guilty response. But if you ask the question in the negative, it opens it up for this to be an appropriate response. So, are you that guy? And he says, no, that's the answer to the question. That's it. That's the answer to the question. Now he can give extra information. He says, anybody that knows me knows I could never. If the question was, did you murder those 2 girls? And the answer is, without the no, the answer is, I could never murder those 2 girls, then that's a deceptive response. But because the question was phrased in the negative, and then because he actually answered it with a direct response, no, he's allowed at that point to continue on and give the I could never do that. Because at that point, that's just extra information. That's not actually the response to the question, which is no. Interviewer, then what happened? Subject, I can't tell you. How do you expect me to tell? You want me to make up a story? And then the interview, no, the truth. The truth is simple. You don't have to make that up. You just get to tell the truth. Subject, I've told you the truth. I don't know what you want me to do at this point. I did not murder 2 little girls. We have an uncontracted denial, which after they've been talking about this for an hour, is an indicator of truthfulness, not deception. If this was the first accusation, which we got to see the entire interrogation, so you would know if this was the first accusation, then this would be very meaningful. But the fact that it is not the first accusation, an insinuated accusation counts as an accusation when it comes to the uncontracted denial, because in the subject's mind, they have been accused, but they've never had to respond using words that are triggered by a direct accusation in words. So I did not murder those 2 girls. That is a perfectly truthful way of saying that. And then the interview says, I've been so nice to you. Again, we're back to the please do my job for me. And subject says, oh yeah.
I've been so nice to you? What the fuck is Jerry Holman like? Do you know how you know an abuser? When abuser says something like that. I mean, we're going to be getting onto this into a future show, that I'm going to discuss some things in the community with you by displaying to you some of the language of some people. But this is a similar example, but in specific in terms of Holman and Allen, where after an entire interrogation blaming him with zero evidence for brutally killing two little girls by sticking a knife in them, he then says, "I've been so nice to you." How many of you have had abusive lovers? All right, come on. I had an abusive girlfriend, and she, it's like, because I haven't been being a psychotic bitch, I've been nice to you. This is what Holman is basically saying. I've been so nice to you after an hour of abusing you.
Yeah, you're being nice. You were trying to get me to confess to something I had nothing to do with. The interviewer says, I'm trying to get you to tell the truth. I'm not trying to trick you. Subject says, you assume it's the truth and it's not. That's perfectly direct response. It has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie. Now that's an actual indicator of deception. When
Fauci, the science doesn't lie. Believe everything we say.
Try and give yourself more credibility, it means you don't believe in yourself. So this stacking on of credibility, you're going to see it's quickly going to go nowhere. So he says, it has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie. And Richard says, that's awesome.
Tell the truth. I'm not trying to trick you. I've drawn out what we have. Most of it.
You assume it's the truth, and it's not.
It has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie.
That's awesome.
That the science doesn't lie. That's awesome. Fucking dude, are you fucking kidding me, Jerry Holman? I'm sorry, I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna stop interrupting. Like this is another highlight. It's like, are you fucking, when would a guilty guy being confronted with the science doesn't lie say, well, that's awesome? This is what I'm saying. Like you have to put yourself into the mind of a killer. All right, let's back it up. Imagine you're the killer and he's showing you that he has the science which doesn't lie. And your response is, yeah, that's awesome, bud. That's awesome, bub.
That's an actual indicator of deception. When you start to try and give yourself more credibility, it means you don't believe in yourself. So this stacking on of credibility, you're going to see it's quickly going to go nowhere. So he says, it has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie. And Richard says, that's awesome.
Tell the truth. I'm not trying to trick you. I've drawn out what we have. Most of it.
You assume it's the truth, and it's not.
It has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie.
That's awesome.
It's saying that
The interviewer doesn't even understand how embarrassed he should be at this point. Interviewer, it's saying that round came from your gun. And Richard says, I don't understand all that. All I'm telling you is there's no way that a round from my gun, the one that you took from my house, ended up next to a murder scene or anywhere else. I don't know where you got that bullet if it came out of my gun. At this
round came from your gun.
I don't understand all that. All I'm telling you is there's a way that a round from my...
All right, listen. I keep saying that I'm going to stop interjecting and being annoying for you. Listen, you can always go watch this on Sergio's channel. I please wish you would go. Amy, would you put up the link to his channel? It's a Truth Revealed. Also, it's known as at Empathy Method. Okay, Truth Revealed. Sergio's channel. Go subscribe to his channel and you can catch the rest of this. And I'm going to put the link in the description for the replayers. Listen, this is another moment for me, for all of us who are actually taking notes. Okay, this is another moment that is noteworthy because after being confronted with the so-called science, so in other words, Rick reveals here that he doesn't even know the science. He doesn't know ballistics. He doesn't know the Rick is like, for me, he's showing his true colors that he don't know shit about the science. Okay, but what he does, he gets defiantly angry, and he says, "Look, I don't know shit about that, but I'm telling you, if that fucking bullet is why them girls, it ain't mine, and whatever science you're saying, is bullshit. You see what I'm getting at? He's defiant. He reveals that he doesn't even know about fucking science, but he's saying, I don't even care about all that shit. I'm telling you. So let me back it up 5 seconds, because I'm telling you, this right here was another moment that checked my box when I watched it. I said, oh man, this is another moment of truth. Okay, because there's no way he's going to get this defiant if he understood the science and was guilty. And if he didn't understand the science and was guilty, he'd be afraid of what that science says and his ignorance of science. So either way, his defiance and his denial, it proves that he knows that this, whatever science you're talking, it doesn't apply to me, buddy. All right, let me let it go.
It has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie. Now that's an actual indicator of deception. When you start to
it's
try
coming.
and give yourself more credibility, it means you don't believe in yourself. So this stacking on of credibility, you're going to see it's quickly going to go nowhere. So he says, it has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie. And Richard says, that's awesome.
Tell the truth. I'm not trying to trick you. I've drawn out what we have.
It,
Most of it.
you assume it's the truth, and it's not.
It has to be the truth. The scientists don't lie. The science doesn't lie.
That's awesome.
It's saying that
The interviewer doesn't even understand how embarrassed he should be at this point. Interviewer, it's saying that round came from your gun. And Richard says, I don't understand all that. All I'm telling you is there's no way that a round from my gun, the one that you took from my house, ended up next to a murder scene or anywhere else. I don't know where you got that bullet if it came out of my gun. At this
round came from your gun.
I don't understand all that. All I'm telling you is there's a way that a round from...
I don't understand all that. He's literally angry. Did you hear his voice there? Like, let me let it play again. I keep saying I'm not going to stop it. Dudes, this is the point that should be compelling even to the most ignorant fucking denier. If you listen to this, it should convince you that Rick, at this moment, he knows what the fuck he's saying, okay? And he's being honest. Shit, I probably lost the spot because I'm so upset. My hand's shaking. I couldn't even move the mouse accurately.
to a murder scene or anywhere else.
It's coming, but
I don't know
listen
where
how
you
he
got
gets
that
angry
bullet.
when he says,
If
"I don't know
it
about
came
all
out
that
of my
shit."
gun. At this
round came from your gun.
I don't understand all that. All I'm telling you is there's a way that a round from my gun, the one that you took from my house, ended up next to a murder scene or anywhere else.
came out of my gun. At this point, it's over. It's done. Richard has told you it is not possible. Without indicators direct, it's not possible. This tells me that whatever that evidence suggests is wrong. Now, this is why I told you that I get information directly from the source, because if I had looked into this and looked at the evidence that was presented, then I wouldn't have fallen down this hole. But I can see how the interrogator who is looking at this evidence has fallen down this hole, that he is not willing to accept reality. He has created his own version and nothing.
Boom. He's not willing. Jerry Holman is not willing to accept reality. He's created his own, says the Fed. Okay.
Have fallen down this hole. But I can see how the interrogator who is looking at this evidence has fallen down this hole, that he is not willing to accept reality. He has created his own version and nothing else can be acceptable to him at this point. No matter how stupid he realizes that he sounds, and no matter how much he's getting called out on that, he's not willing to accept that something in his own evidence is wrong. Like I said, that is why I get the information from the people. I can tell from this.
Jerry Holman is not willing to accept that the evidence from his own people is wrong. You see, he just said it. He just said it the most plainly it can be said. And I think I lost my spot here. Sorry. I just wanted to, oh shit. See, I can't, like I'm saying, I guess I'm a little upset and I'm nervous and my hands keep slipping around on the mouse.
Then the truth has to be what you've previously determined to be an impossible outcome. I believe it was Spock that said something like that. The only thing that I can think of is that the police must have put that round there in order to try to tie him, who was seen walking on that bridge just because he took a walk earlier in that day. It's in his own evidence is wrong. Like I said, that is why I get the information from
There
the
we
people.
go. There we go. Okay, that's the spot.
Can be acceptable to him at this point. No matter how stupid he realizes that he sounds, and no matter how much he's getting called out on that, he's not willing to accept that something in his own evidence is wrong. Like I said, that is why I get the information from the people. I can tell from this interrogation that Richard Allen has no knowledge of the murders. He is not withholding anything about them. They are not playing in his memory. If they were in his memory, then there would be effects from that would come out in his language, and there aren't any. So this is how I know that either that bullet was somehow accidentally dropped
It
in
was
that location
planted.
and just happened to be found there, which is statistically so unlikely that I don't want to factor it out completely, but that is not something that I would even consider to be possible, or the police put it there. Now, that is something that I wish wasn't possible. It's something that at this point we have to come to terms with, because if every possible outcome is found to not be true, then the truth has to be what you've previously determined to be an impossible outcome. I believe it was Spock that said something like that. The only thing that I can think of is that the police must have put that round there in order to try to tie him, who was seen walking on that bridge just because he took a walk earlier in that day. It's literally the only thing that ties him there. And the girls weren't even shot. They were stabbed. There was nothing on his knives. There's no DNA, no blood on the knives. The only thing that he has, at least at this point, I haven't even seen any of the evidence. Like I said, only what I've seen from here. Even though they know that he was in that general area that day, they need something that can tie him to the girls. I mean, did they just pick up the bullet when they looked in his house and put it there? I want to say that that couldn't happen, but if you've seen the documentary To Make a Murder, if you have...
All right, I guess I'm going to have to be the bad guy. And I'm going to have to just willy-nilly accuse the law enforcement of being corrupt and of planting evidence. So let me just say this. I believe that Sergio accidentally hit the nail on the head. Okay? They planted the fucking bullet. Both of them.
are following the Karen Reed case, there's just on that bridge just because he took
Listen again.
a walk earlier in that day. It's literally the only thing that ties him there. And the girls weren't even shot. They were stabbed. There was nothing on his knives. There's no DNA, no blood on the knives. The only thing that he has, at least at this point, I haven't even seen any of the evidence. Like I said, only what I've seen from here. Even though they know that he was in that general area that day, they need something that can tie him to the girls. I mean, did they just pick up the bullet when they looked in his house and put it there? I want to say that that couldn't happen, but if you've seen the documentary To Make a Murder, if you are following the Karen Reed case, there's just so many examples now of times that this is happening. Even the O.J. Simpson case, I mean, there's no question in my mind that he was guilty, but there's also no question in my mind that they staged evidence. Why do that? But it happens, and this is how you figure that out. Actually, once you know directly from the subject that he didn't do it, now you got to start questioning where that evidence come from. And the detective brings his wife in there after they've been just berating her for an hour and making her question everything she knows about her.
And being sexually inappropriate, asking her bizarre, sexually inappropriate, highly inflammatory questions, straight up lying to her. You haven't even heard Kathy's story yet.
Husband, they bring her in there. Okay, anybody else, because I wasn't around anybody that day, so I'm done answering. Like, I know you're trying to get tricked me into saying that. He's clearly under more and more stress, and he's still very direct. I don't care how stressed out I get. I'm not gonna fucking admit to something that I had nothing to do with. This is towards the end of the interrogation. It just gets more and more aggressive, and I just feel bad for him. This is coercion. This is coercion by a detective who has told you, it leaked out in the interrogation, that he has a motive to close this case, regardless of who gets, he calls him the fall guy. So regardless of who the fall guy is, the detective's going to close this case. He has told you that he has a motive to close this case. And so that's just problematic. Subject, I don't care. You're not going to prove I did something I didn't do. And then they bring his wife in, and I'm going to show you this. This is hard to watch. If the swearing bothers you, or if seeing an innocent person treated very badly bothers you, this is a good time to stop, because at this point, I'm going to show you some stuff that's really going to piss you off. All right, so I want to start here. The interviewer. The evidence clearly indicates you're involved in this. Subject, no, it doesn't. The interviewer, it fucking does. So now the interviewer has completely lost it. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. Okay, the interviewer. I got multiple. I'm not showing you my whole fucking hand here.
I got to interject here too because I remember this port. I'm not showing you my whole effing hand here, says Jerry Holman. Question for the people out there. What's Jerry Holman's whole hand? Does anyone believe that Jerry Holman has a whole fucking hand? Or is this a bluff? Is this a bluff? I'm not showing my whole fucking hand here. Bitch, you ain't got shit.
And Richard says, I don't care. I'm telling you, I'm done talking.
You leave. Don't worry about me. I'm trying.
Sorry, and this part honestly upsets me because how hurt Kathy is, and she's been abused, lied to, and sexualized, and all this stuff. So this part is kind of hard for me. I'm going to actually kind of dip for a minute. I'll let you watch it.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yes, you do.
There is no way that evidence is going to show that I did
Right
this.
fucking here, Rick.
You got one piece of evidence I can't explain.
Multiple. I'm not showing you my whole fucking hand here.
I don't care. I'm
You
telling
should
you I'm
care.
done talking.
And now you're gonna drag your fucking wife and your daughter through this because you're too fucking bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit that you made a mistake. And whatever the fuck happened out there, we'll never
Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth, asshole.
fucking know because you're too big of a fucking.
So
Go ahead.
So tell you I did something
Tell me
that
the
I
truth.
didn't do.
The truth, Rick. I don't want to
I
know.
told you the truth and you don't want to hear it.
The evidence tells me otherwise. The evidence clearly indicates you're involved in this.
No,
I
it
saw this.
doesn't.
It fucking does.
It doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders.
And I'm telling
The interrogator. And now you're going to drag your fucking wife and your daughter through this. Keep in mind that his wife is sitting right there. The interrogator says your fucking wife right in front of her face. Why is he saying that? Your fucking wife and daughter through this because you're too fucking bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit that you made a mistake and whatever the fuck happened out there, you'll never fucking know because you're too big of a fucking so go ahead. The interrogator has switched from being bullheaded in a way that is just kind of ignorant. He wants a certain outcome. He's not listening to the subject. He is just pushing through with his own agenda. And eventually he is getting really angry and he has completely switched to pure coercion. This is he's no longer trying to get a confession from somebody who's guilty. He's trying to force a confession from anybody. He doesn't care who. Subject, no, it doesn't. And then interviewer, it fucking does. Subject, I'm telling you that there's no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. Interviewer, I did not take it from somewhere. It was locked in. It was taking this photograph. You think we fucking went, thrown the fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl? Split the same fucking TV? This is real.
I'm sorry, I get literally teary-eyed at this. To bring his wife into it like this, but look at this shit here. Everybody, pardon, it's a difficult moment, but read the words. This right here, I think, is a confession. We fucking went down, thrown the fucking round, and threw it down by a fucking dead girl. And keep in mind, he's talking about Abby and Libby. Do you all think that that's right or appropriate to say? I think it's half projection. Yeah, we went throw the fucking round by the fucking dead girl who you give shits about because you don't care about catching the killers.
Realistic.
I did not take it from somewhere else. It was locked in. It was taken.
My gun was used in these murders. Interviewer, I did not take it from somewhere. It was locked in. It was taking this photograph. You think we fucking went, thrown the fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl, split the same fucking TV. This is realistic.
I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in. It was taken as photograph. You think we fucking went and stole your fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl split? This ain't fucking TV. This is realistic.
The audio is bad. I'm assuming he said this isn't realistic, but this is leakage. I hope you understand what that is at this point. The interviewer, the interrogator, just said, I did not take it from somewhere. It was locked in, probably evidence. It was taking this photograph. You think we fucking went, thrown the fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl? He is telling you exactly what they did. Richard never made that accusation. So
Did you just hear Sergio there? Did you just hear him? There's so many levels to this. Why you keep saying fucking dead girls, fucking dead girls, fucking dead girls? Listen to what Sergio just says, and I'm going to shut up because I'm honestly, at this point, I literally want to knock the computer off the table and go fucking somewhere else right now.
photograph. You think we fucking went, thrown the fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl? He is telling you exactly what they did. Richard never made that accusation. So there's no way that that thought could have come into the detective's head. In order for you to think about something, that thought has to either be placed in your head or you have to generate that thought. That thought wasn't placed by Richard. So that means the detective generated that thought. And where did that come from?
Confession.
If the detective
By projection.
thought that Richard did this, why would he be so concerned with this entire story, having thought through taking it from evidence and throwing it down by the dead girl? He just confessed. I don't even know. I don't know what happened. I don't know any of the evidence. I don't know any of the details. But my analysis of just this statement would be that the subject is innocent and the detective has an agenda, and his agenda has leaked out in at the end of this here. And then the subject says, I understand. Interviewer says, we collected that fucking item on February the 14th. We didn't take it from anywhere else but that fucking scene. And we didn't take your gun from anywhere else. We took it from your fucking house. Subject, I'm telling you, I can't explain something. And he's going to say that he didn't do. And gets cut off. Interviewer, and I'm telling you, the fucking analyst, explain it. You can't get past this. And then Richard asks, can you please let my wife out? And he says, absolutely. Come on, Kathy. And then Richard says, I love you, baby. Can I kiss her? So once his wife is gone, the interrogator comes back in. And then Richard says, what you're going to pay for what you've done to my wife, what I am doing. You want to fuck with me? Fuck with me. But you leave my wife out of this. Fuck, leave me out of this. Out of it. And then the interviewer goes off. And I'm just going to play this part for you because at this point, once you understand who the subject is here and you understand who the interrogator is and you understand the motives behind both people here, I want you to listen to this.
Can you please let my wife out?
Absolutely. Come on, Kathy.
I love you, baby. Can I kiss her?
Yeah, kiss her. Do the right thing, Kathy. Tell him to do the right thing.
She knows I will.
Yeah, do the right thing. You're going to put your family through this for no reason. What?
You're gonna pay for what you've done to my wife.
What am I
If
doing?
you wanna
What?
fuck with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Fuck, leave me out of it.
No, you're involved in this. You're fucking rounds there, Rick.
No, it's
I can
not.
see you're getting pissed off. I
I
understand.
am pissed off. Did you not see my wife?
Did you not see these fucking two girls dead? No, that's what happened. You got fucking pissed off at them. You fucking dragged them down a fucking hill, and you fucking killed them. Don't fucking tell me you didn't.
I didn't kill anybody.
I'm saying for a reason, not because
You guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this fucking round shit up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking.
That's how that.
Now, what do you think was said in the segments that were cut out? Now, I noticed another thing he said in this. He explains something really fucking weird here about dragging the girls down a hill. Listen to this shit. Listen again to the maniacal, the unhinged insane, fucking ridiculous, gaslighting, abusive maniac, Jerry Holman. This is a shining example of what every cop should be in the fucking United States of America right here.
You fucking kill him! Don't fucking tell me you didn't!
I didn't kill anybody.
I'm saying for a reason, not because
You guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this fucking round shit up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking. All right.
That's how that interrogation.
Just let my wife out.
Absolutely. Come on, Kathy.
I love you, baby. Can I kiss her?
Yeah, kiss her. Do the right thing, Kathy. Tell him to do the right thing.
She knows I will.
Yeah, do the right thing. You're gonna put your family through this for no reason. What?
You're gonna pay for what you're doing to my wife.
What am I
If you
doing?
want to
What?
fuck with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Fuck, leave me out of it.
No, you're involved in this. You're fucking around there, Rick.
No, it's
I can
not.
see you're getting pissed off. I
I
understand.
am pissed off. Did you not see my wife?
Did you not see these fucking two girls dead? No, that's what happened. You got fucking pissed off at them. You fucking dragged them down a fucking hill, and you fucking killed them.
You dragged them down an effing hill and you effing killed them.
Oh, did you not see my wife?
Did you not see these fucking two girls dead? No, that's what happened. You got fucking pissed off at them. You fucking dragged them down a fucking hill, and you fucking killed them. Don't fucking tell me you didn't.
I didn't kill anybody.
I'm saying for a reason, not because
You guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this fucking round shit up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking. All right.
That's how that interrogation ended. This is problematic. I have absolutely no say in any of this, but I think an investigation should be done here on this detective, the people working this case. Now, there obviously is a confession. I haven't looked at that confession yet, but let's bring it up. Let's bring it up right here, right now. Let's look at it and see what we see, because a confession obviously is problematic to all of this stuff here. So let's see what it says.
All right. I spent some time looking up and listening to the recordings from jail that he made calling his wife. There's no need to go through all of them, but let's just give you an example of what happened here. This is him calling. He tells his wife, "I just want to apologize to you." He says, "What's going on, sweetheart?" He says, "I did it. No, I did it. I killed Abby. I killed Abby at Libby." "What? No, you didn't." He says, "Yes, I did." She says, "No, you didn't." He says, "Yes, I did. I don't know why." She says, "No, you didn't. They'd messed up your meds." He says, "No, I mean, I evidently did it." Now, clearly, we're getting into problems here. And she says, "Why would you say that?" He says, "Because maybe I did." She says, "No, you didn't, dear." He says, "I think I did. Did Dad tell you I called?" And she says, "Yeah." He says, "What did I say to him?" And then they talk a little bit, and he says, "I wish I could say I didn't. I don't know." So I had to look into this a little bit more. And once he went to jail after being arrested, he had a psychotic episode and they put him on medication. Now, if you've ever known anybody who's had a psychotic episode or goes through psychosis, the process of getting the medication right takes years. It's not like, oh, you just need to take this pill like Tylenol and you're just better. So once that process starts, that's a lengthy process. Just from the language here, you can tell that it's off. He says, "Evidently I did it," because maybe I did, I think I did. So you're getting indicators here. These are called reductions of commitment. I think I did, maybe I did, I evidently did it. And then he says, did Dad tell you I called? And she says, "Yeah." And he says, "What did I tell him?" There's issues here. And before he had this break, I'm going to play one of those recordings for you. In fact, I'm going to play it for you right now.
Are you there?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, hon. I'm trying to keep this together.
Oh, hon.
I don't want to upset you anymore. All I want to do is be able to help you. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm not saying anything, but if it gets to a point that it's too much, you just need to call the investigators and tell them to come and get me and bring me to you, and I'll tell them whatever they want me to tell them, because whatever it is they want me to say, I'll just say it.
No.
So I want to be able to make this answer.
Whatever they want me to say, I'll just say it.
And for everybody else concerned, because it is. I love you too much. And every time I talk to you, I feel like it's going to be the last time I get to talk to you.
I know. I wish I could hug you.
I can't explain what's been going on.
Oh,
I don't want you to worry about me.
yeah.
I'm a man and I'll take care of myself, but I'm worried about you. And that's all I do is worry about you. So, and you let everybody else know how much I love them with you.
You need to hang in there, honey, okay?
Huh?
You need to just hang in there because they're going to get you an attorney soon, okay?
Will you just let everybody know how much I love them?
Of course I will. They already know, hon. Yeah,
No, they don't.
yes, they do.
Nobody loves me anymore.
Stop. That's not true.
I know. I'm
Not
sorry.
true.
I'm
Not
sorry.
true. Okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I know what you told me. I know what you told me, and I believe you.
Yes.
I just, knowing I'm never going to see you again, or at least it feels that way. I'm just saying, if it gets too hard, just tell them to come and get me
No,
and bring,
no.
and bring me to see you, and I'll tell them whatever they want me to say.
No, no. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. I don't need you to try and be strong for me. Okay? You need to be weak. You need to be held. You take care of yourself, okay?
Okay, so you heard there, you got a little glimpse of him before the psychotic breakdown. So apparently he was going through different courses of medication. He lost 90 pounds. And, you know, I can speculate, but it doesn't really do us any good to speculate. The one thing I can tell you with certainty is that if the police department planted evidence to put him in there, there's no way that they were just going to leave him alone and not try to get some sort of confession out. There's a lot of things they could do to him in there. And he is clearly not the type of man who's cut out to be in jail. So it wouldn't take much to break somebody like that. That's coercion. That's what POWs go through. It's disturbing. This entire course from start to finish is disturbing. It's disturbing on the level of human rights, human dignity. It's disturbing because of what our country is supposed to represent and what our justice system is. It's not functioning the way that it's supposed to. And we've gotten to a point where I think we're realizing that interrogators are completely untrained. I'm not trying to just tear down all interrogators in general, but the lack of training and education and the lack of the ability to identify the characteristics that make a person good at doing interrogation, the fact that that thought hasn't even occurred to anybody yet, it really shows me how we are in the very basic infancy of interrogation and of what an interrogator is. So there's going to be casualties. Just like if you look at the history of medicine, like I was talking about earlier, there are casualties throughout history as a science, a profession evolves. We are at that point right now where it is very sloppy and unprofessional. It's just very problematic. And my hope right now is that we can identify that this is something that needs to change. We can identify that there needs to be a standardized system in place for not just the training process, which a re-interrogation course is a good start. However, if we don't identify the characteristics that a actual interrogator has to have in order to be able to even implement that kind of a tool, then we put the cart in front of the horse. It doesn't make sense for me to take my 15-year-old who just got her learner's permit and put her inside of a Formula One race car and tell her, okay, now this is how you start to merge into traffic. I mean, it's going to end in a fiery car accident very quickly if we take that approach. And that is sort of what we have here. I don't think that the Reed technique is a bad technique. I think that there's a lot of very good guardrails in place there. I think that the people who go into that field and who go through that training, they don't have the fundamental characteristics or skill set necessary to implement a tool like that. And so that's my thoughts. I just want to try to shed some light on this. So go and check out Crafty Thinking. That is a great channel. I've just started collaborating with her, and she's going to do some follow-up on interrogation, looking at it from a different perspective. Those her questions, they were one of the steps that took me down this road to making this video today. So we might go back and forth a little bit. And so subscribe to her channel, and you'll get to see some different intellectual ways of approaching dealing with a systemic problem that is how people are treated when they enter into our criminal justice judicial system. And is there a way that we can standardize that or take the subjectiveness out of it so that people get treated fairly and equally across the board, regardless of any factors? And I'm not just talking about race, ethnicity. I'm talking about somebody who lives in Chicago versus somebody who lives in California versus somebody who lives in New York. The interrogators are different and the way people get treated is different. So I think this is an incredible question that we need to ask and we need to keep talking about it. So leave comments on my stuff, leave comments on her stuff. Your comments will fuel more content that we're going to create and begin discussing this issue. Let me know what you think about trying to tackle this sort of a problem. Is it something that's even possible, or is it just something that needs to slowly change over time? Anyways, I hope you find value in this and that it was worth your time, even if it leaves you feeling heavy and a little disheartened. Stay tuned. I'm going to put out another message in the near future asking for what I should do next. But of course, I'm going to cover the Karen case. That being said, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next.
Apologize. I was saying go subscribe to Sergio's channel, basically. Please go subscribe to Sergio's channel. And like he said, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's actually heavy. It's a very, very heavy feeling. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to not be heavy. So I apologize to all of you that we have to get heavy at times. Yeah. But this is the reality of the situation. And I can't really go any longer. It's just run through the ringer. I'm run through the ringer. It's just, it's too much. This is why I try not to do this. But yeah, Sergio's channel is called Truth Revealed. Okay. I think that's what I said when I was muted. I don't know. Sergio's channel is Truth Revealed. It's at youtube.com/@empathymethod. So special shout out and thank you to Sergio for graciously allowing us to watch his video, talk about it, share with all of you. I truly do appreciate that. He didn't have to be so gracious with us, but he was, which is just fitting. And remember, like I said, this guy a week ago didn't know about this. So there we go. I'm done. I just said I just can't do it. Just can't do it. I'm tired. I'm all beat now. I feel beat. Please do subscribe to the channel here as well if you haven't. I have two channels. My other channel is called The Prof True Crime, a little backup channel. Please do subscribe to that backup channel if you're interested in subscribing and hit, if you want notifications, do that. And hopefully when I go live, you'll get a notice. I'm just reading a couple comments. Sorry, I'm not in a good mood anymore. I can't keep going. But hopefully that was worth it for you. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I hope that I was able to introduce you to that, because I told someone earlier today on a phone call, I agreed just like basically 100% with every single thing he said. Okay. He was when I watched it, I was just aghast. I was like, wow. But thank you all so much. That's Mr. Truth Revealed, Sergio Denaro. And this is over here. This is the Prof. Thank you for watching the Prof. Support the channel. We have our support pathways, especially Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee. Let me put the banners up. There you go. See, I have banners. We got Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee. Scrolling down here, you can support the channel. We have Super Chats and all the other ways to hit the likes. And if you're on the replay, please do me a big favor and leave comments down below. And if you stuck through the replay, I really appreciate it. That was 3 hours. Okay, that's 3 hours. 3 hours is a long time. So if you've stuck through the 3 hours, please do me a wonderful favor and leave some comments below on the replay, because we love having your input. It's why I love the live chat. Many of my viewers know this is one of them here. Okay, you know that I appreciate my community members in the live chat more than anything else. Okay, this live chat and this community, especially those who come in and watch and leave comments and participate, is the absolute number one thing for me. And honestly, many of them I talk to on the phone, because many of my closest friends from the chat have become personal friends, and I truly do love and appreciate all of you. I think together we're doing good work. And listen, you all know that we are in an incredibly difficult time in this community. And you guys are going to have to stick with me here, because when I'm telling you, and you may not believe it, you may not understand it, most of you don't understand it, but you need to know I stand by Kathy Allen 8,000%. And everything that I am doing, whether you like it or not, is to support Kathy at this point in time, and Abby and Libby. Okay? So when I am speaking for Abby and Libby on the truth of this crime, or when I am speaking on the truth of this community on behalf of Kathy Allen, you all are going to have some faith until you understand more of why I would be doing the things I'm doing and saying the same things I'm saying, and why Kathy would be doing the things she's doing. You're going to have to try to understand that there's no way Kathy's going to try to do anything to hurt Rick. There's no way I'm going to do anything to hurt Kathy. And there's no way any of you in my chat, my community members, are going to do anything to hurt any of us. And I will always be standing by Kathy Allen, Andy Baldwin, Brad Rozzi, Jennifer Auger, and all of my best friends in this community who helps to make it happen. And I hope that you can one day catch up with what is really transpiring in the community at large, and continue to support Kathy Allen, because trust me, she's the one that's left out in this world and has been truly victimized, more than anyone other than Rick. So let's keep it up for Abby and Libby, keep it up for Rick and Kathy, and keep it up for all the other victims of the Delphi murders, because there have been many. And some we haven't learned about yet, and some we already have. And I'm referring to the Delphi body count. So please, like I always say, love each other, hug your kids, hug your wives, and et cetera, et cetera. I just need you to stand up brave, put your chest out, and keep the truth in your heart. Okay, that's what I'm doing, and I expect you to do. So God bless Sergio, I have Apophis, and let's go down our list, okay, because I got all my lovelies in here. God bless Charlotte, Indy Cindy, Rosalie, True Tammy, Miss K, Love Goldberg, Christina, Georgia, Amy, Christy, World's End, Gilletta, Heavy Brown, Emerald Wonderland, Carla Ann, Heavy Metal Rehab, Sweet Dude Shibby, Icy Cat, Barbara Borman, Laura Naran, Niobe, Fur Baby Daddy, Miss K, JoJo, Jen P, Georgia, Pertinent, um, Lady Shadowfly, KP, Critter Mama, Yolanda Pink Rosie, Topher Oleg Cat, Five Green Acres, Old Mort, New Mort, Noe Amos, Jay, Who's Her Daddy 11, Jen P, Indiana Nan, um, Atlanta, Housebroken, anyone who was here earlier who I may have missed, I apologize. I'm not going that back 3 hours in time to call your name, but shout out to JoJo, Miss K, Dirty Diana, Amy, Heather Brown, and also Mark Ellis for the $100 super chat. So all our super chatters, the supporters of the channel, all of you, anyone I missed. Oh, I see Jay Lynn's there, Rhonda Holton's there, Diana's there. All of you amazing, amazing people, especially all my friends. You know who you are. Those of you who I talk to on a daily basis. You know I love you. Can't do it without you. Appreciate all the help, all the lending of the ear, and all of this other stuff. Anyway, I hope this was worth it for all of you. And hopefully some of you have not had the opportunity to see Sergio's video. Hopefully some of you have now seen it and you go learn about him. And I just want to express my thanks to him again for doing that. I think it was a hugely sympathetic, compassionate move on his part. So God bless you all. God bless Abby and Libby, and God bless the United States of America. We got to clean up this problem. This is a 20-year problem. This is year one. We got to clean this up. God bless. Bye.